Thank you, Glenn. Welcome, everybody, to the Octane Online Racing Simrigs Sprint Series, Season 21, Round 1, to a very wet, cloudy, and potentially dangerous Spa. 60 minutes, no mandatory pits, and we'll see how the weather goes. Today, you're hosted by John Gormley and Tim Gobe. How are you doing, Tim?
Doing good, John. Doing good. I am excited for this. Split yellow starting season 21, round 1 with a bang. We've got 16 pros in this split. What do you think's gonna happen, John?
Chaos. Nothing but chaos. We'll see if the pros can even survive, because honestly, split yellow is completely stacked. All the fastest people are in there, save for a few or two. A lot of fast silvers, a lot of fast pro-ams, and something you mentioned earlier, we've got a full manufacturer's grid. Every single car you can choose for this season has been picked. There is a total of 44 cars on grid right now. We've got 8 Mustangs, 6 Porsches, 6 Ferraris, 6 McLarens, 5 BMWs, 3 Lambos, 3 Nissan GTRs, 2 Audis, 2 Astons, 1 Honda, 1 Mercedes, and 1 Bentley.
That is definitely exciting. Obviously, they've already started quali. As we can see, Lucas Key's currently on provisional pole with a 227.7 in the wet. That is pretty impressive. What do you think about that, John?
Personally, that is shocking to me because I was watching one of the other racers' Twitch stream, Saxon Hayes in the Audi. He's my mentor because I'm driving the Audi this season. And I was just talking to him a little bit, asking him how he's doing in the wet. And he's like, it's not going well. He's doing 2-minute 34s. And he's a pro class. He's the one who I've been learning from. And he's only managed a 234. We'll have to see what he manages better this round. But Lucas Keys, followed by Felipe Bokita, also seriously fast racer. Just Stephen Tai, Mitch Hobbsy, Joshua Holmes, Vedeker, Hignett. These are all names you've heard before, and you'll continue to hear them throughout the whole race.
Yeah, it's interesting, especially a wet quali is always exciting because usually the first laps, the track's still wet. Cars haven't gone around yet, so that 227 would have been when the track is still starting to dry as the drivers are going around the track. So we expect to see much better lap times towards the end of quali.
Yeah, it's something realized a few seasons ago, that actually min-maxing quali can really put you higher up in the race because these conditions horrible. We'll have to see how, like you said, how fast the lap times can really get later on when there's a dry line forming up.
Yeah, it should be interesting as we're right now watching Felipe Bokita, currently already 1.2 up on the Delta. Let's see if she makes it through the bus stop chicane in one piece. This is one part of the track where you can either gain a lot on your Delta or lose everything. But it looks like she's had a pretty good bus stop and she's 1.2, and that's a 227 flat from Felipe Bokita, moving her into P1.
Already 227 flat, Mitch Hobbsy with a 27.5 and Lucas still a 27.7, but they're both in pits, which means they must be changing something. They might be fine-tuning their setup or just waiting for a more dry line to form before they try and min-max their tires. But already and there's Stephen Tai in the Lambo, 27.5. This is stacked.
That's definitely interesting. Like I said, as the track is drying up now, everyone's starting to get their banker laps in, as we just saw Lucas Keys coming out the pit. So it's possible he's had maybe a small incident around the track somewhere. Obviously in the wet, those curves, especially the green parts of the curbs, very, very slippery. You really don't want to be driving on top of them, much less brake on top of the stripe part of the curb, as we're currently watching Stephen Tai going through, if I remember the straight name, the Camel Straight. And we'll see what he can do with the Delta, as he's currently 1.2 up, gaining through Lecombe, now 1.4. That's very, very quick from him. Let's see if he can get through Lecombe cleanly and still up on the Delta, still 0.46 on Delta, now going through Bruxelles. Obviously, this is one of the most slippery corners on this track. It's downhill, and I can't imagine doing it in the wet.
But we're racing at Split Red tomorrow. I am not looking forward to it if it is in the wet. As we're going down through Pouon, he is 5.5 tenths up, and he's still holding. I've never driven the Lambo. How do you think it does in the wet? Because it's mid-engine. It's probably like all right, no?
Having never driven the Lambo myself as well, I am not too sure, but I've heard it's a very nice car to drive. Top speed, not the greatest, but especially when you're in the wet, top speed is not as much an issue as traction is. As we can see, 0.75, 0.8 up after Stavelot 2, now coming up to Blanchimont. And it's possible we'll have a new, if he keeps it clean for bus stop, a new provisional pole for this race.
This is actually just insane how fast these people are, because Philippa, some of you may know her, some of you may not know her. She is in an esports. Is she an esports champion, or is just this esports league?
She races in an esports league, and
there we go. New P1
class.
Stephen Tai.
Yeah, 26.7. So obviously the much more traction on the track now, and he's sent it back to pits. Maybe that's it for him. Maybe he thinks he can't do any better, or perhaps he'll try to do one more lap, as we're now on board with Mitch Hobbs himself, our Academy Series admin, and he's the one that runs Academy side by side with Joshua Holmes. As it currently says on the Delta, he is invalid, but as we know with ACC, it could very well still be valid as he slides through the exit of Lecombe. But still up on the Delta, slowly losing some, but not too major, as he gains again on the entry to Brussels. Let's see if he can get a good exit out of Brussels. And yeah, good exit out of Brussels, so still up 0.24. That would currently keep him in P3 as he loses through No Name, coming up into Pouon now. Again, Pouon is one of those really high-speed corners, but in the wet, it's sliding, wow. And he's lost all his Delta. He'd be bummed about that one, but there's still half of the track to go. Let's see if he can pull something out.
With the remaining time, he still has time to do one lap and another lap in overtime, which some people might be trying to get their best lap on the overtime as well, but they have to time it just right. Man, that thing is sliding. That thing is loose. I mean, the Porsche is known for being a little sensitive, but in the wet, man, I can't imagine driving one of these.
Yeah, the Porsche is very much a car you drive on the nose. Even in the dry, it's a very, very slippery car to drive, but obviously some people like these kinds of cars, and it seems like Hobbsy is one of them as well, as he goes through bus stop, currently up 0.3. Nope, he's up 0.2.
Lucas with a 26.7, new P1 for quali. And just got some insider information. Philippa, 3/10 up, and that is on a valid lap as well. 3/10. Just maybe that'll dethrone Lucas from P1, because look at her, she's 3/10 plus. We just gotta see. This is gonna be a tough race to commentate. There's gonna be so much stuff, Rexy Mouth.
Currently 0.7 now. She just has to go for bus stop cleanly as well. And still up at the exit of bus stop, so since this is a valid lap, it looks like we've got a new provisional P1 with a 26.2.4 up from Lucas Keys, currently in P2.
I'm kind of speechless. This is genuinely some top-notch racing. The lap times we're seeing here, the race is going to have to wait a little bit. But on the weather widget, looks like it's cloudy. So the track could still be damp when race starts, right?
Unsure if race is on the same day. It will if it is on the same day as I've been told, it will potentially be damp, but it'll still potentially still be wet. As we see Lucas Keys currently 0.4 up. He might be able to snatch that one from Felipa, but she still has one more lap to go. Let's see if she's still got some pace in her. As he loses some delta at the exit of Pouon. But
you know, these Lucas and Hobbsy, two similar liveries. So we have to remember that. Even though it's a No Man's Sky livery on the Aston and a Laundry House livery on the Porsche, just the same color scheme, surprisingly, as both of them are on green deltas, even though Hobbsy did a massive slide earlier. 4 tenths for Lucas. That is all he needs to dethrone Felipa. Will he hold on to it? He's going through bus stop right now.
As he keeps it clean, currently
3 tenths up?
7 tenths up. As we have a new provisional pole at 26 flat from Lucas Keys. That is a banker lap. As we see Mitch Hobbs did not see that lap time, did not manage to improve in position, and he's gone back to pits. He would have to do with potentially P4 unless Benjamin Hignett or McDowell or any of the drivers behind him do a better time than him. As we see Felipa up again, 0.35, potentially going to end up in the 25s this lap.
How do they do it? How do they keep doing it? They're just faster and faster.
0.5. She lost a bit on the exit of bus stop, but that should be enough. A 25.9 from Felipa Bukita. That is one hell of a lap. And Lucas Keys will have to settle for P2. Oh, as I've been told, Lucas has crossed the line before the timers count down. So he's still not valid. He's still 0.2 up. And if he keeps it clean, as he loses through No Name, coming up to Pouon now, he's lost all of his delta through No Name, gaining through Pouon. He's going to have to do something magical here to dethrone Felipa.
Most people are off the track now. Are you saying, do you think the dry line is getting slightly wetter?
It is possible. I reckon he's still got enough grip to do it as he slides on the exit of Pouon. The delta's not going to like that. It's going through. Looks to be Davolo 1 and 2, and he's lost it all. I don't think he'll be able to pass Felipa for P1 unless he somehow
hold on to your
gains
horses. Hold on to your horses, because Felipa gained 3 tenths in the bus stop, the very last lap. So we have no idea, okay?
I don't think it's going to happen personally.
Come on, Lucas.
Oh, however, he has gained in the entrance, but lost it all on the exit. He will have to settle for P2. That is still a stonker of a lap from Lucas Keys, as we now have our grid for the race start. And it appears to be dry, possibly greasy.
Greasy, just saw it pop up there. It is greasy. As we are getting a virtual flashbang from this chrome BMW. That's actually super nice.
I like the colors. I think they're a tad bit too bright for my liking.
2 minutes and 20 seconds until session start. Is there anything you want to say, Tim?
That was a really exciting quali. Very close times at the top. Felipa with the P1. Lucas almost got it, but he lost it all in Pouon. That was a very exciting quali, and now I'm excited for this race start. How about you?
Incredibly excited. It's still greasy, but not wet. Felipa Kita in P1, Lucas Keys in P2, Stephen Ty P3, Mitch Hobbs P4, Benjamin Hignett P5, Brad Cook fast Honda driver, P6. Joshua Holmes, faster Bentley driver, not faster than Cook, just super fast. Dylan McDowell, P8. Not sure the rest. We'll see the grid soon enough. But just reminding of the format. Oh, here we go. Joshua, I think it's a Joshua Vediger,
Yeah, Joshua
P9. Ash Lee, Nissan GTR, silver. So that's a silver in the top 10. Luke Johnson, Logan Burton, Chris Taylor, Jay Sweeney, Eshan Lele, very fast last season. Glory Babby, in a Ferrari. Last season he was in a Merc. Layla Bell, Pro-Am, all the way up there, huh? Wesley Yao, Perkins, Saxon. Oh man, that does not bode well for my race tomorrow. The first Audi in P20.
Can I cut you off here, John?
Yeah, go ahead.
I find it. I think that Lee would have been very happy with that quality. Making in the top 10 in a grid like this as a silver, he'd be really happy with this. Same for Sweeney, Layla Bell, Yao, and Perkins. Mixed in with the pros, so obviously the wet, the great equalizer of any racetrack. This race, I think, is going to be very, very interesting.
All right, we're about to start our full formation lap. Just a reminder of the race today, 60 minutes, no mandatory pits. So any pitting you'll see will either be a tire change or damage repair.
Yeah, hopefully they can get through Eau Rouge Radillon cleanly on lap 1. Obviously, very tricky part of the track. On a race start, everybody's stacked together, and you really don't want to have to go to the pits unless it's for a strategy call. Let's say it rains in 20 minutes and they're starting on dries. That would be the only reason they'd want to go in pits, because a drive-through penalty or fixed pitting for damage on the pit lane at Spa, extremely long pit lane, is going to cost them a lot of time.
As I'm looking at the weather widget here, cloudy, cloudy, cloudy for 30 minutes. So the beginning of the race should be wet-free. We'll have to see about the later half, though.
Should be wet, but I still see some puddles on the track. So I'm interested to see this race start, because obviously very, very talented drivers in this split. But I'm wondering, on lap 1, would they be able to keep it clean, especially with how slippery the track will be with their, what I'm guessing will be slick tires for the first part of this race. As we see Felipe leading the formation lap. Anyways, John, what do you reckon is going to happen lap 1? Do you think it's going to be clean? Do you think it's going to be chaos? Do you think a safety car is going to be called? Give me your guess.
I'm going to say it's a 50% chance safety car, because most of these racers, will try to take it a little bit more safe, because the track, just changed from greasy to green. So they are going to change it. Should take it slightly safe, but then there will be the other racers who decide, I don't have to take it safe. I know I can do this. And then there are also the third group, I know everybody else is going to take it safe, so I'm going to take advantage of that and try to make up spots. It's a chemical reaction, and we just have to see what's going to happen.
I reckon most of them will take it safe due to the track. Although it says it's green, I can see that there's still puddles on the track, and I'm wondering if that puddle on the exit of Radillon is still there, because in the wet, that puddle is a nightmare, especially when you're pinned.
Yeah, I'm thinking Lipa and Lucas not slowing down whatsoever. They're going to try to take Eau Rouge and Radillon as fast as they can. It's maybe for Stephen Ty and Mitch Hobbsy as well, because the top 10 very good drivers, so they might be confident enough in their skills and in each other's skills to not just completely worry about a wipeout.
A person I am looking at right now is Aaron Lee in P10 in the Nissan GTR. Now that car has stonking acceleration. So I'm wondering if he'll be able to make up positions by the time they get to Lecombe.
We are now changing to double file through bus stop. In about 100 meters, we'll have T1 and then race. Wait, I'm an idiot. The race is going to start in like 10 seconds.
Now, so they're double filing through now, but green flags around the corner right before Eau Rouge Radio.
Oh, yeah. See, this is American things. I apologize, everybody watching.
All right, John, so I'll let you take over for the race start.
All right, everyone's lining up. Hold 80. Get ready for action. Oh, man. Can't wait. Split, stacked, split, yellow. Round 1. Here it comes. How's it gonna go? Green, green, green. Lucas already trying to get past. Ooh. Right on the tail of Pip. Wow. Okay, there's a really big gap.
Car park on the back of Eau Rouge, and surely that will be a safety car. The guys at the back got it all wrong. But it looks like safety car hasn't been called yet. I'm surprised with that. Never mind, I've been told that safety car has been called, so now they'll have to hold single file. Well,
you owe me $10, Tim. I called it.
I'm wondering what's happened there. I did see when Felipe and Lucas were battling that on the outside there were still puddles on Radion. So I'm wondering if one car perhaps hit one of those puddles, slid out into the other cars, and caused a Constantino effect.
Not to mention, how dry are the curbs? Surely the curbs are a little bit slippery as well. And maybe they're thinking, oh, it's green, I can use the curb. Because we just have to see the replay, which will be coming up shortly. But already, 3 cars in pits. Luke Johnson, David Marsh, and Nicholas Brownette. That is not a good sign for those racers. But don't give up. Never give up.
Yeah, I'm also wondering what's happened. It's also possible, like you said, that one car on the insides also hit that curb. And even on the dry, that curb is deadly if you get on top of it. I can't imagine how it's like on the wet, but it's also possible another car hit that curb as they were going 2 wide, possibly 3 wide. And basically one car got destabilized and ran into another car. But
at the best of times, that curb is a gamble.
See, I don't like gambles. If I know there's a safe option, I will take the safe option. Thank you very much.
Only gamble during quali. During the race, keep it safe.
Especially on lap 1. As there's no point being overly aggressive. You can't win from lap 1, but you can definitely lose the race, as many people have said in the past.
Don't be overly aggressive on lap 1, says the guy who made up 7 positions at the final round last season, Paul Ricard.
That was last season.
Hypocrite.
We're talking about this race as we get a replay from the lap 1 start, and we'll see as they run into each other before even Eau Rouge. What was that? That was... Oh no.
God, a McLaren flew.
Unbelievable. Come on. I was thinking it was either one of those puddles or that curve, but it's not even that. They didn't even get into Eau Rouge before contact. That is a horrible race start.
You know, split yellow, there's split green and split red are both watching, and you know some of those guys are just sitting back in their chairs saying, I knew it. I knew split yellow was going to be a mess. I knew it was going to be chaotic. I called it.
As we see Felipe going, obviously they already crossed the starting line, so I'm wondering when Lucas would be allowed to pass Felipe. I'm guessing he's all free to race her now, as the start finish line is before T1.
Oh no, someone's going out of
one
pit.
GTR exiting the pits, as it looks like they RTG'd and fixed damage, but they quickly move out the way for the leaders of the race. Felipe currently 0.5 up on Lucas, but Lucas still behind her. As we see that GTR getting in the way of all the other drivers.
It's just blue flagged. He's going to have to wait for everybody to pass because it's just not safe. Because everybody's most likely, they're warmed up their tires a little bit from the formation lap and the safety car lap, but that GTR is on fresh tires completely.
Fresh tires, as we see more people have gone into the pits. We can see the number 42 exiting the pits right now. But so far, Lucas staying behind Felipa, 0.3 behind her. He's in no rush. He's usually a very well calculated driver. He won't make a move unless he can see there's a good opportunity to pass. See more cars exiting the pits. Let's see if they can catch the back of the pack once more. I'm wondering if Felipa's gonna catch any cars that are still potentially in pits right now.
1-7, we've got 2 cars leaving pits. A third, looks like 2 more are slowly moving. This could really prove to be a problem if the blue flags impede the leaders in any way. So this will be a very interesting race to watch.
Potentially a problem for Felipa, or a godsend for Lucas Keys, as he's staying once again close behind her, still in the slipstream, as he bit squirrely on the exit of bus stop, but he's still within that slipstream range of her. Now if he can get a run on that BMW M4 GT3 down Camel Straight, we may see a change for the lead.
Let's see how they take Eau Rouge and Radion as well, if they touch the curbs at all. Lucas on the curbs, Pip on the curbs, everybody's on the curbs.
See, as they're about to already catch the remainder of the blue flags. Going through this comb now to make Filippo either catch them at the end of this lap or next lap, but this is about to get very interesting, and it's only been 7 minutes of the race.
There's been a safety car, and yeah, Lucas, there's a slight gap to Pip, but Mitch Hobbsy way closer than Lucas is to Felipa, so we'll have to see about that as well, because just remember, Felipa, super fast, Lucas, super fast. The rest of these guys are also super fast.
Let's see how everything rounds up as we have Felipa catch up the number 62. As she has gained a 1.2 second lead on Lucas, which means Lucas is now out of the slipstream with Stephen Tai 0.5 behind him. So now Lucas is in danger from the 230 Lamborghini of Stephen Tai.
Either Mitch Hobbsy had a bad slide and lost 2 positions, or I completely confused Mitch Hobbsy and Stephen Tai. That's okay. It happens.
I reckon you did.
Now,
it happens to all of us.
We, at the very beginning, when we had that big crash, we saw straight away 3 people in pits. But now, I've counted maybe like 7 to 8 cars leaving pits, and there's already another incident.
We have an incident with the number 8 of that is Eshan Lele onto the grass. Now I'm wondering what's happened there. Looks like he has no damage, so it's possible he slid on
minor damage on the back, looks like.
So obviously track's still green, the grip is not optimal. So it is possible, what I'm guessing is that on that fast left-hander of Blanchimont, he probably took it a bit too aggressively, perhaps hit the green of the curb.
Pitting for damage.
As we see him pitting potentially for damage. We have another car off. That's the 249 that said, I've had enough of this, and RTG'd or perhaps Alt F4'd. On board, well, not on board, with David Marsh, and he also slides out into the wall.
Track is still slippery. And some people are struggling with that. Some people did not practice for the wet. And that is, I am one of those people. Do not be afraid. Is that a... Oh, that's a nice Senna right in the hood scoop of Eshan Lele's McLaren. But man,
Yeah, like
a
you
lot
said,
more pitting than what was expected.
yeah, like you said, I reckon a lot of these people weren't expecting to be on a wet track, and perhaps the temperatures are not the temps they were expecting. So there's a high chance that half these cars may be under pressure for the tires.
We're on
which
board with
means-
Joshua Holmes in the Bentley with Mitch Hobbsy right behind. Small battle here. And Brad Cook following as well. Brad Cook, seriously fast Honda driver. And I think was he in the 58s, Tim, or was he in the 59s for Bathurst, the 12-hour qualifying shootout?
Brad Cook, I think he was on the 58 in the Honda.
Yeah, he was in the Honda. He was in the Smokestack Racing. I'm not going to mention the cigarette ban because no need to.
Also,
I'm not sure if that's against the
Felipe
rules or not.
Bukita with a 2:18.4 on a fast track. Now that is properly flying, which I'm guessing she's also on full race fuel. So
It's only been 10 minutes, so yeah, she's got to be high fuel as well.
you see Mitch Hobbs slowly catching Joshua Holmes, 0.5 behind him now, as they go through Eau Rouge.
Looks like Philippa might run into a back marker after Lacombe, as you can see on the track map on the right there.
Yep. That will be the 959 of, I don't remember who that, of Lewis. As she goes through Brussels right now. Lewis about to reach No Name. I reckon Philippa is gonna catch him around Pouon. As we see more blue flags being waved. That is most likely for Steve Lewis himself, as Philippa is probably within that 1 second of him. So he will have to move over for the lead pack when it is safe. Please do not do it in a corner. I've heard drivers complaining that people are letting them through corners, but hopefully he knows how to get out the way. He'll probably do it on right before Blanchimont, if ideal.
Maybe he's just giving her a slipstream, you know? He's still on the racing line. That is... I'm not sure. Oh, here we go.
That is ideal. That's not a good place to move over.
Okay, what's going on here? There we go. He's moved over.
Not sure. I don't think he was trying to give her a slipstream. I know for sure that she would have been wanting him to move out the way as soon as possible. And now she's probably hoping that perhaps Lucas stays stuck a bit behind him so she can build that gap even more. We see her have a 2:17.8. That is a proper lap from Felipe Bukita as she slowly gains her lead on Lucas Keys, which is now almost 3 seconds behind her.
We'll really have to see, because that is a massive gap. Maybe Lucas doesn't want to shred his tires too early on and try to be faster in the later laps, but it's just, we don't know. Well, I personally don't know what to expect, because my race knowledge, oh, bouncy Porsche. My race knowledge is not as high as somebody else comes out of the pits. There's been way too much pitting. There should have been no pitting that early on.
Yeah, ideally no pitting, but what's happened. As we're now watching Dylan McDowell under pressure from looks to be Logan Burton, which also had some damage to the front of his McLaren, so unsure what happened to him.
He must have just got caught in the war that went on in Eau Rouge, because there's definitely going to be some people who have pitted for more serious damage, and there's some people who may have gotten a slight tap, slight nudge, and decide, I can race with this is nothing.
Yeah, obviously they would have to drive the car and think also about the pit lane in Spa. It's not just pitting for damage, it's also driving through that pit lane is a nightmare. So he probably thought, nah, damage not too bad. Maybe he's praying for rain so he has a reason to pit and fix his damage. But the fact that he's staying right behind Dylan McDowell probably means that he feels all right with the car. Probably lost a bit of top-end speed, but because of the slipstream, can probably stay stuck behind McDowell. But looks like his grip around corners hasn't really been too damaged. Perhaps a slight bit of understeer, but that's to be expected with any front-end damage.
Yeah, these two are bad.
Really
Oh,
close now.
He's going. Wow.
Through.
Blanchimont, they're going to see. Now, I'm not sure how well the McLaren does under braking, but I've heard the Porsche is really good, right?
Porsche is pretty good. I've heard many stories that McLaren is terrible on brakes. Obviously, again, it's a car I've never driven. I've not really been interested in driving it, so I couldn't tell you. But from what a lot of these drivers have been saying, it's like moving to other cars. I've always hear the same. Oh, look, I have a car that can brake now. So what I'm guessing is that the brakes on the McLaren, not the greatest. But I've also been told that it's a car that's pretty much good all around, as we're now on spectating Wesley Yao right behind Jay Sweeney. Again, front-end damage on that Porsche, so he must have been caught up in some kind of incident as well. And it looks also like he has some rear-end damage. I wouldn't want to be him with a Mustang behind him. And
in front, behind, on Kemmel straight.
I think behind him, that's actually Jay Sweeney. So it has updated now. Yes, so Wesley Yao in front of Jay Sweeney. So Vediger must be the one in front of Wesley Yao currently, and he's currently hunting him down as they go through Bruxelles into No Name.
Man, that is quite a... I'm not sure how serious that damage is, but it looks just fairly scuffed up. But Wesley Yao currently P1 for Silver Class, followed right behind by Chase Sweeney, which is P2 for Silver Class. So this is a lead class battle right now. Wesley Yao could try to pass Joshua, or could just try to be holding on and defending against Jay.
I reckon that their main focus will be Jay. Obviously, Vediger in a different category from Wesley Yao, so his main concern would probably be Jay Sweeney right behind him for Silver P1. Talking about different classes, T. Spence in P10 as a Pro-Am. Fantastic performance from him. He'd be stoked about that, especially in what I've seen earlier, split SRO. So he'd be really happy with that beautiful raid as he goes a bit wide.
Good job, Tim.
On the straight, getting passed by Vediger. Perhaps he went wide on purpose. Perhaps thinking he doesn't want to feel the pressure from Vediger. He probably focusing on that P1 Pro-Am.
He's already 2 positions clear of the next Pro-Am, so maybe he just doesn't want to fight, as wow, it has now become a proper pack. Yao right on Spence, Jay right on Yao. This could be a recipe for disaster, depending on how hard everybody tries to take Eau Rouge and Radeon, because these guys are probably feeling the pressure.
I reckon Spence might be thinking that he wants to stay ahead of the other Pro-Ams. Obviously, the further up the field he is, the more points he's going to be ahead of P2, which is currently Stockton in Pro-Am. So perhaps he'll try to defend that one, but we see that Yao's got a good run on him. He's probably going to pass him down the straight. As we've said, the Lambo top speed, not the greatest, but still quite a bit ahead. So I'm wondering if either Yao's running a higher wing, or perhaps that's the front-end damage showing up. As we see Logan Burton going off the track.
Ooh, that's
slippy.
A bit dangerous for a rejoin, but he's all right. Nobody got hurt. Nobody got hit. Now he's stuck behind Sweeney as well. Now, Jay has a super tow because Joshua, if Spence remains in the slipstream of Joshua, that's a tow. Yao's in Spence's slipstream. Jay's in Yao's slipstream. This could be like, if Jay gets it just right, he could really slingshot past some people down Kemmel.
If this was a Formula 1 race, we'd call this a DRS train, but obviously GT3s don't have DRS, so
Yao's hood shaking a bit as well.
Yeah, so that's definitely gonna have an impact on his top speed. So he's probably relying on a lot of that slipstream to be able to stay ahead of Sweeney. If Stockton manages to pull past that 1 second gap on Wesley Yao, he could be in trouble. He could be in trouble from the Mustang of Jay Sweeney.
Felipe Bukita setting another fastest lap. You know, the track gets drier, the car gets lighter, less fuel, more speed. We just got to see how it goes. But, okay. 15-second penalty for Richard Bugzinski, number 319, as Yao just goes straight
off the track. I think he completely missed his brake marker and dangerous rejoin. Almost runs into what I think is Hayden
Stockton.
Marsh in the Ferrari.
I think that's Stockton in the Penrite Ferrari. He's in part of the 50s club.
Oh, yes, that's you are correct. That is Stockton, and he'd be kicking himself over that mistake. Perhaps completely missed his braking marker, but good on him for not causing a collision. That could have gone a lot worse. I think adrenaline had a part of that. As we see, Logan tried to go down the inside of the Red Bull Porsche, completely outbroke himself and loses the rear end, goes off the track, tries to rejoin, but that's right on the racing line. That's the line they take to exit the Lacombe, and that could have gone a lot worse for him. He is lucky that I've seen one car look like tried to avoid him, but potential ticket, potential invoice coming his way for that one.
You know, both these cars, red and gold, both these cars, a little bit of damage. Maybe this is the match that was made in heaven.
Maybe. I reckon Stockton's not gonna let that one go too easily. Especially
I don't think anybody's gonna let any positions go, because it's getting faster. We're almost at the halfway mark, 8 more minutes to go. Track still fast. No rain on the weather widgets so far.
I'm not gonna lie, parts of me does want rain, but it's getting to the halfway point and it's looking like this race, we may still have a small chance of a bit of rain towards the end of the race, and that could surely make it interesting, because if it does rain in 30 minutes, I reckon they will not change tires for wets due to it only being 8 minutes if it does rain. If the widget does change right about now, but it looks like it is not going to change. So our hopes for a wet race slowly going down the drain. Let's see, this little pack, not gaining, but also Perkins not really building a gap, which means Stockton can stay within that slipstream, and same for Wesley Yao within the slipstream of Stockton. But this has been, so far, it's been an interesting race. So much action, it's not even the halfway mark.
I just want to say, due to Burton's little slide earlier at the beginning of Lacombe, Spence back in P10.
Back in P10, he'd be cheering for that one. As we have an incident crash on the top of Radion. That is, I did not see what happened there. I was too busy just looking at Spence in P10, and he looks like he's RTG'd, and he's probably thinking, yeah, no, that's my race over.
That is incredibly unfortunate. Logan Burton just is slid out and ended back up on the track. That is honestly one of the worst places to end up, right after Radion, where everybody's so fast. The car is unsettled from taking Radion as well. It's just, it is such a tough call to make.
I would have to see what happened there. But perhaps it was a mistake. Perhaps he hits a curb. There's a good chance he may be hit with an invoice for that one. We have Hobbsy still behind Joshua Holmes, not gaining, just staying behind him, perhaps waiting for Holmes to make a mistake, but he doesn't really make many mistakes, so he still has 36 minutes for that pass, so he's probably in no rush. Obviously, these two good friends, they worked the Academy Series together. As we have a replay of Bert, and he hits that curb just wrong, and it just unsettles the car. Holds the brake.
That is Yao.
That is just unfortunate for Yao. Burton did nothing wrong, held the brakes. It's just unfortunate that he ended up on the racing line for that one. So I reckon
that was a racing incident. Yao would have had to see into the future to be able to avoid that. So there is in no way, I mean, either party. It's just a racing incident at that point. Because that specific dip in Radeon kills me every time I do it in the Audi. So I'm not surprised it got somebody else as well.
It just looked like the car just unstabilized. Perhaps maybe the bit of damage he had perhaps lost the front end and caused them to spin. And unfortunately for Yao, it was just a passenger at that point, accident Eau Rouge. Perhaps he could have done something, but it would have been a split-second decision. And especially going at that speed, I reckon there was really no avoiding that.
I think we have somebody else. 121 also spun Stockton, possibly because I just saw it off the track map as a Pip. Wow, Pip has built up a very sizable 6.5 seconds gap to Lucas Keys. Come on, keep hanging in there, Stockton. You got this, okay? P3 Pro-Am. As
like
P1 for Am is in 14th position, Ivan Lee in the BMW you saw earlier, the chrome, blue, and purple.
Yeah, nah, he'd be stoked about that performance as well. Obviously, he wasn't here last season. I'm pretty sure Ivan raced the season before that. And having him in Academy, I think 2 seasons ago, he's a pretty fast operator himself. So I reckon that Am badge is probably going to be upgraded to a Pro-Am badge, as he's P3 technically against the Pro-Ams. And massive gap to the next Am behind him, which would be Baker. So I reckon that badge is not going to stay red much longer.
Either that, or he just did a very good job of avoiding the mayhem at lap 1, because I'm not seeing, there might be some damage on his car, but it looks negligible at most, and he's just keeping it clean, keeping it consistent, and keeping it on track.
Yeah, that could be another thing. He could have just been clean on lap 1, as like we said earlier, is a lot of times there's no point being overly aggressive as he goes off track, but
I said it too soon.
But still keeps it on 4-wheel, doesn't spin. I think his heart rate might have jumped a little bit on that one, but he's still keeping it straight on the track. So
look, you can get lucky, and that will push you up a lot of positions. But luck will not keep that position. Your skills, your consistency, your driving, that's what keeps you up there. As we're on board with Joshua Vediger. Sorry for interrupting you, Tim.
No worries. It looks like Yao exits pit lane, so he's still fighting there. He still has hope in him. Obviously, catching Burton on top of Eau Rouge looked like he possibly RTG'd, or maybe drove around the track and just pitted for damage. So good to see him not giving up and still going for the race, still getting those valuable points that he'll need through this season.
You never know what could happen in the race. We're just about to reach the halfway mark, and you know, for some reason, every single pro in front could just magically slide off track, and no. But yes, never give up. That is, always try.
Can I just say, that is a beautiful livery on the 999 Mustang of Vediger.
Vediger's also, he was driving the Coke Zero Beamer a few seasons ago as well, right?
Yeah.
Beautiful livery, beautiful car.
I think he's a big.
Yeah.
I think he's a big Coke fan.
Coke Zero fan.
Coke Zero fan.
Coke Zero or Coca-Cola. You can't just say that word by itself, okay?
I mean, you're the one that thought of that, you know. I'm just saying what I see on the car.
You're saying what you see on the car. Just wait till you see Nathan Monk's livery tomorrow from the back. Then you'll see what you see on the car.
I don't know about you, but Nathan Monk's livery, and it's not tomorrow, it's the race after this, actually. Extremely beautiful livery. I don't know what you're talking about. As we're back with Joshua Holmes, it looks like he's pulling a small gap on Hobbsy. Not enough to break the slipstream, but perhaps maybe Hobbsy filling the tire wear. Maybe Joshua Holmes is taking care of his tires a bit more as they're coming up on Benjamin Hignett. Still is that a 2-second lead, a 1.2 second lead on Joshua Holmes. So in a couple of laps, we might see him catching Hignett, and we might have a really, really good three-way battle between these three alien drivers in a split SRO.
Yeah, I just want to say, Hobbsy might be biding his time. Like you said, Joshua doesn't make many mistakes. But if Hobbsy, a little slidey there, if Hobbsy wants to gain a position, he's going to have to do it in Sector 2. But if he doesn't want to lose a position either, from the Bentley's just insane acceleration as well.
Just hits that inside curb on Pouillon. The Porsche is not really going to like that, especially like that car really drives on the nose. So, and seeing the way Hobbs is driving, it looks like he has a really, really aggressive setup on that car. So the tiniest mistake could cost him big time.
Yeah, we are now halfway through the race. Track has turned to optimum. No more possible rain. We've got Felipe Bakita P1, Lucas Keys P2, and Stephen Ty P3. That is making up your overall and your pro class. For your pro-am, for your silver class, we've got Jay Sweeney in P1, Perkins in P2 in the BMW, and Rondanella in P3 in a GTR. Good going, Jaden. That is I'm not going to say that's a big surprise, but I didn't see him anywhere on the grid, on the overall grid box earlier, so he must have just kept it clean for a while. Now, Pro-Am, who is above silver class at the moment, T. Spence P1, Layla Bell in P2, fast driver as well for Pro-Am. She's decently fast for Pro-Am, right, Tim?
Oh, she's really, really quick. I'm pretty sure last season she was actually in silver class. So
that's a
unsure
surprise.
Why she put herself in Pro-Am.
And Stockton in the 121 Ferrari, P3 Pro-Am. So that is our Pro-Am class. Then we've got Ivan Lee in our Am class. Not sure how long that's going to last, like you said. B. Baker in the Porsche, our second Am, down in P23. So there's almost a 10-position gap from P1 Am to P2 Am. Oh no, Joshua
As we
Holmes.
see, Holmes spins.
Was that a spin, or did Hobbsy have a small bump? I couldn't tell from that angle.
Unsure of that one, but he's gonna be again kicking himself with that one. And Hobbsy, thank you very much. I'll take that position from you.
And Hobbsy doesn't have to worry about losing it on the straight because Holmes spun. That wasn't a little oops wide. That was a I'm turned around and I don't know where I am.
And as you're saying, for the Am top 3, you missed P3, but we've got Mr. Richard Hopkinson in P3. Big fan of his. Obviously, this is not his first sprint season. He's done sprints before, but he was Racing Academy last season, so this is technically his first sprint season since Racing Academy last season. Currently in P3 and doing very well himself. He'd be happy with that one.
If you pay attention to the track map, everybody's fairly well spaced out now. We've got a penalty for Neil Wood, number 620, 10-second, causing collision on lap 6. So not part of the lap 1 mayhem. Now, we're still on board with Hobbsy. He's trying to find some time against Hignett. These are both very corner-heavy cars, so we'll have to see how they decide to battle it out. But I think they both have high top speeds, don't they? The Fez has a high top speed, and the Porsche too. As we're on a replay, oh, here's what happened to Holmesy. Oh, he had to avoid. He just had to avoid Hignett.
He runs to Hignett. That's gonna be an invoice right there. Naughty.
Props to Hignett for keeping it straight, taking a side-on, not attack, but a side-on nudge from a boat like that. I mean, let's be honest, Bentley's a big car.
I mean, it is known as the boat itself.
The Boatly.
No, it's not a bad car. It's got really, really good acceleration, that car. Top speed, it gets to its top speed really quick, but it likes to just sit there, which I think its top speed is around 282, 284. That was its top speed at Paul Ricard at least, but it gets there really, really quick.
I remember so many Boatly drivers were feeling a little chuffed at how bad the top speed was, especially on the straight. Except Joshua Holmes still managed to win that race, even with that, I'm not going to say atrocious, but as bad top speed. As Hobbsy, Vedeker out around the outside, does that mean Vedeker's a lap behind? It doesn't. Wow. Just the top 5 to the. That's.
Was
wow.
he? I don't think he was.
No, I got a.
Nah, he's
slight...
still P8. He's still P8, so I think he just made a mistake on the exit of Bruxelles, which, again, gives more position for Hobbsy.
Just trading positions now. I mean, the top 3 positions haven't changed in a while, but there is a massive gap. 7 seconds from Pip to Lucas Keys, and then 10 seconds from Lucas Keys to Stephen Tai. The real battle's going on here. P4, P5, as well. Crap, because now Cook's 4 seconds behind. Joshua Holmes 3 seconds behind.
Talking about Pip, John. Sorry to interrupt, but at 269. What is this? 36 minutes into the race, worn tires. Nah, she'll just do a 269. That's pretty much quali pace with what would be just under half a tank of fuel. She is flying out there. That is insane pace from Pip herself.
We're on board with Nash right now. Fez on Fez. Stockton within a 10th. Both damaged. We're going to have to see. That is actually a pretty cool livery. It's very simple, but I like it. Or Orange. Orange Express. Orange with a J. Oh, boy.
You know what that livery reminds me of, actually? It reminds me of the KTM Crossbow.
I was about to say that, but it also kind of looks like a mask, like a Wolverine mask from the front. Don't tell me that doesn't look like a mask, doesn't it?
You know what? That also does look like a mask. It's a very, very cool livery. You know, sometimes simple is better. You don't necessarily have to make a very flashy livery for it to be a good livery. Sometimes something minimalistic. We could talk about who was driving the black and gold Bentley?
Brickley, Robert
Brickley. He had a very simple livery, but just the way those colors matched together, the matte black with the chrome gold, just worked really well in that car. Probably one of the most beautiful liveries I've seen in sprints.
I gotta say something. I think I just saw the flag for Tim Nash, his nationality, and I think, is that the Zimbabwe flag? Because there's a running joke now. I am from Thailand. I've registered as from Thailand, same as you, Tim. But every broadcast I'm on, I get stream time, obviously for my bad driving, not my good driving. It's the Zimbabwe flag, and I'm just not from Zimbabwe. It's stuck now. It's just a joke. As Tim Nash is going through Bruxelles, heading into No Name, man, it is actually a fairly tight train going on. Well, not too tight, but on the track map, it looks tight.
So what I'm noticing is like we have a lot of these small 3-4 car trains all around the track, except for Bukita. She's on a league of her own on this race, well clear of Lucas Keys and setting insane laps on race fuel, which I did not think were possible until I've seen that. But yeah, all around the track, we see all these little wolf packs forming, and perhaps this is causing, let's say, the two drivers working together, trying to get away from the driver behind them. So, interested to see what happens as we're at 1 minute from the 20-minute marker in the race. Obviously, between Nash and Ivan Lee, there's an 11-second gap. Ivan Lee's also flying in this race, as he's currently hunting down Layla Bell, and He's only 3 seconds behind her, so perhaps we could see a change from P14 to P13 if Leila Bell isn't watching behind and noticing that Ivan Lee is closing in on her. It's possible that she may have looked at the class and think, it's just an AM driver, he's not that quick, is he? And all of a sudden, she might have a bright BMW hunting for position.
Yeah, if she has her virtual mirror on, she might get blinded by it. It depends on the way the light's looking, but yeah. It's cloudy, it's gone great, but the track is still optimum. There's 0 chance of rain. All that's left now is proper racing. Now, many of these drivers, they still got damage. They're trying their best. They're making do with what they got. As we're on board with Pip again, with is that Cameron Thistlethwaite right behind? You know, completely forgot about the only Merc in split yellow. He must have been in a bad crash at lap 1. But man, what a beautiful livery as well. If you guys haven't seen it yet, you can check it out on Discord. That is a proper, the chrome red, the spikes, kind of looks like an Angry Birds, but cooler.
Yeah, it's a very very beautiful AMG. I think the AMG is one of the better looking cars as well.
One of the sexiest cars
ever. I am a big fan of the Mercedes AMG IRL. I love the long nose. I just love how aggressive it looks. Normally, Cameron, he's a fast operator, but it looks like he's 2 laps down, so maybe he got caught up in an incident and had to pit for damage. During practice, he's struggling with top speed
as well. So that must have been super unfortunate big crash or something, because Ashley was in the top 10 in quali.
I think we saw Lee crash early in the race. I'm pretty sure. Maybe I'm confusing Ash with someone else. But now back to the AMG. I just love the way it looks, love the way it sounds. Just fantastic car. If I could ever own one of those, I would.
No. I know you. For a daily driver, you'd always go Porsche, much to Sean Muller's love. Me, AMG is for me, okay? You stay away from it. There's no way in hell you'd pick an AMG over a Porsche. I know you.
I mean, I didn't say I'd pick an AMG over a Porsche, but if I had the chance to own an AMG, I definitely would. Still see Cam taking a lot of curb as he goes through Stavlo 2. Takes a lot of curbs, a bit slidey there, but he keeps it on 4 wheels. Some good driving from her as we see Pip in the distance, just driving away. Honestly, it looks like she's just cruising.
Yeah, well, one thing about professionals, they do it good and they make it look easy. They always make it look like they're not trying.
Yes, especially when I'm learning a new track and I look at one of those guys' hot laps. I'm like, I'm doing exactly the same thing. How are they 3 seconds faster? But it's all about being smooth, being good under braking, and being smooth on throttle. It's all around being smooth while driving is what separates the pros from the mortals like us, John. Yeah,
man. Just think about. Oh no, that's a slide.
Oh no,
as please somebody say. Okay,
Cam,
he's still on. Yeah, and he's straight. He's good. That's a good freaking save. Good on you. No damage on the beautiful Merc, please. He must have lost so much speed. He's gonna lose. Oh no, that was
blue
Lucas
flags
Keys.
from Lucas Keys.
Yeah.
Oh, it looked like he did that on purpose. I think he's just showing off.
Hey guys, look how cool my livery is. Look at it from the back. Look at it from the front. No, that was a great save. Kept it out of the wall. And then kept going straight. Man, if you saw his inputs, he's probably brake, gas, brake, gas, brake, gas.
I would like to see a heart rate monitor on him to see his heart rate spike in there. But I'm guessing. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. He's 2 laps down from the lead pack. So at this point, if style points were a thing, that would have been a 10 out of 10 from me.
Save of the race, P1, quali points. Let's see what goes on. we're not giving points. Definitely not giving points for worst crash, because we do not want to influence, or like, that's just. Oh, a little slidey from Harry Murphy there. We've got a good battle going on here. We've got Stockton in front and Rondinella behind. P18 for silver P3. Now, do you think Lupti has any damage as well? Because I know this is the first time he's actually driven the GTR, and he's practicing a lot. I saw him in Fruit Bowl every single day, trying to drive that thing faster and faster.
He was getting flying laps in the dry, but I don't think... it looks like he may have a flappy hood as well. So perhaps he did get into an incident. If you look at the hood of that GTR, it looks like it's slightly lifted up. So that's definitely gonna damage his top speed. Same for Stockton, as we see Harry trying to force a mistake on Stockton, but Stockton still keeps it on track, not fazed by it. Perhaps he has his rearview mirror on. I know a few drivers turn off their virtual mirrors because perhaps they don't want to feel the pressure from the car behind them. I like to keep it on. I like to know how close the car behind me is.
Yeah, it's just a choice of preference, like how some people drive on hood cam and why JC only brakes with his right foot. Yeah, it's just preference. I still don't know how he's pro class with that right foot braking, but just want to say thank you everybody in the YouTube comments for tuning in. Cricky, yeah, that is definitely one of the top 3 liveries I've seen this season so far, and there's still 2 more splits to go, so I'll have to see about that. And Murray, yeah, the SLR McLaren, the holy trinity, the SLR, the SLS, and the AMG GTR. All beautiful Mercedes, all beautiful V8s, all cars I cannot afford.
As we see, Murphy does have a drive-through penalty. That is going to hurt him at Spa. We've talked about the pit lanes multiple times on this track, but the pit lane is ridiculously long on this track. So he's going to be kicking himself over that. I reckon he's just used up his speed points as he goes in and serves that DT. Oh, he's going to be kicking himself over that one. Oh, that is such a shame. They were having a good battle, and...
another replay of the start?
The replay of the start. As we see at the back, who is that in the Ferrari? Turns in onto another, what looks to be a Coca-Cola BMW, as there's chaos. And if Mullock was to see this, we would have heard the car park insult coming in. But that is not a way to start the first race of season 21. Again, I don't know how that has happened before Eau Rouge itself. Fun fact about Spa, for those who didn't know it, Eau Rouge is just that little corner at the bottom, and the way up, that is Radillon. So Eau Rouge is just a tiny part before you start going up through Radillon.
Yeah, I don't care. Cars go fast. Brr.
Car go brr. As we're back, we're Benjamin Hignett in the top 5.
Filippo still 10 seconds clear of Lucas Keys. 14 seconds, Stephen Ty, Mitch Hobbsey, Hignett, Cook, Holmes, Vettiger, McDowell. Oh, Jay Sweeney, P10. He's in the top 10 for his first race this season. Well, everybody's first race this season. And P1 for silver. T-Span's still in the P1 for Pro-Am, but P11 now. I just want to say that for that Ferrari, no naming and shaming, because we don't want to discourage anybody to quit, but let's hope some lessons were learned, just because mistakes do happen, and they happen far more often than you'd think. And as long as we learn from them, we're okay.
So I reckon it's just the adrenaline kicking in, the first race of the season. I've noticed that on any categories at the first week of the season, well, except for this one, because we've only had 2 weeks to practice for Spa. But Spa, by nature, is a bit of a sweat track. And since it's the first week for the season, everyone's a bit excited. So perhaps they're trying to race a bit harder than they should have. That was a pretty silly mistake. But yeah, let's hope they've learned from that.
Loopty around the outside of Stockton. Let's see if he can make it stick. Stockton back in front. They're about to go into Eau Rouge. Loopty probably has the acceleration to really pressure Stockton. We're going to have to see what kind of almost side by side, outside, inside. He's looking for it. Unstable car, yeah, the hood shaking, you know, and wow, Stockton just had a better exit.
Catch him. So yeah, the exit of Radion, if you mess up Radion and go slidey, give too much steering input, it just messes up your exit onto the Camel Straight, and if you can't get a good exit, you lose a lot of top speed. You can lose up to, I think, 2 tenths, 3 tenths if you have a bad exit there. But even with the damage on Stockton's Ferrari, Loopty just can't catch him. So I reckon it's part car damage and also part just bad exit, and tire wear could also be a reason for that, as we see we're on board Loopty as they go through Pouon, and you see Stockton going a bit wide, probably had to lift a bit, as we see Loopty slowly catching him as they go through campus now. Stockton braking a lot. Loopty is now right up his backside, braking again. So it looks like Stockton's also struggling for grip, because
Loopty almost had an oopsie right there, man. The GTR is a car that loves to go sideways, and that damage does not help at all.
One way to drive the GTR, which I've heard a lot of people tell me, is a lot of the time you have to control the car with throttle. So where you would normally perhaps slow down with another car to stabilize the car, with the GTR, it's a bit counterintuitive where you have to give it a bit of throttle. Obviously not necessarily full throttle, but you just gotta control the slide with the throttle, and that's what I've been told on how you drive the GTR. As Stockton makes another mistake into bust up, and Loopty now has a proper run into him, but he's gonna be on the outside. Stockton defending, he's looking at the inside.
Will there be any overlap?
As they go side by side. Loopty has a bit of overlap, but I don't think he has enough. Stockton goes really wide, and Loopty has got the move done, but there's still Eau Rouge and Radion to go through. Now Loopty has to get a good exit out of Radion, and he should be clear of Stockton.
That top speed damage must be horrible for Loopty, because the Fez can reach very high top speeds, but it looks like Loopty's managed to make a decent gap. We'll have to see how he goes through Lacombe and Bruxelles and No Name, because Stockton he's fallen off a little bit. He's still within a few tenths, but I'll have to see, because Loopty might get a little excited now, be like, I did it, I gotta go, only to make a mistake. So keep it on track, Loopty.
Oh, it's a bit slidey on the exit of Lacombe. Now just has to get Bruxelles right. It's really easy to lose the rear of the car on this particular corner. See, but he's keeping it clean. The curves a bit, perhaps sliding a bit, pushing the car a bit too much, perhaps he's feeling the tire wear. Stockton still stay quite close behind him, so I think he's still gonna try and put up a fight. You know what I'm surprised, John?
Yeah,
what surprises me, nobody's taking the esports line.
I mean, maybe if nobody had damage, they would probably take it for fun, but they just don't want to risk it, because the car's already hard enough to control as it is. They're running on one set of tires for the whole race. They're shot, car's low fuel, so it's going way faster than they're used to, as Stockton makes a slight mistake.
It's out of the slipstream now, so Loopty is going to be cheering for that one. Oh, look, it's Harry Smiles with a 10-second penalty for a collision on lap 20.
We've got 7 minutes to go, and car 77. Car 70, oh, that's Smiles, my bad. Now, 7 minutes to go. Won't be, I don't think the top 10 will have many changes, because they're fairly, some of them are spread out and some of them just have the same pace, so they just can't overtake anymore. But we should still be seeing a few passes or some tie racing here and there from below top 10, 10 to 20 to 30.
think Stockton's just struggling a bit. He's probably feeling the tire, whereas he's probably been pushing the car very hard, trying to hold on to the position, as we're now following Spence under pressure from I think it's Perkins. Yep, Perkins. Looking at Spence, so he's probably trying to put some pressure. He only has 7 minutes to go. So if he can just hold on to that position for 7 minutes, he'd be good for P11, and that would be P1 in Pro-Am.
He doesn't have to hold on, because that's two different classes. But he's still, the higher you are, the more points you get. And maybe it's not about the points anymore. He just wants to feel that I got P11 on my first race. Yes, because Perkins, that is a very sexy BMW as well. Perkins, Layla Bell, 10 seconds behind. Like, Spence could be losing time trying to defend against Perkins, but he is still 10 seconds clear of Layla Bell. He's done a really good job to keep that up there. Same for Ivan Lee. You might get lucky and gain a few positions, but luck won't keep the positions. It's just your driving.
Yeah, I reckon he's not looking at the class anymore. He just wants to do some hard racing. And as we see, Stockton a bit closer, looking down the inside, but decides, I'm going to pull off. Perhaps that's just a ruse, trying to scare Spence into going wide, but Spence is not falling for it. He still keeps the position ahead of Perkins. But yeah, I reckon they're not looking at their badge anymore. And even then, the higher positions Spence can hold over Layla Bell, the better it's gonna be for his championship, for his Pro-Am championship.
Sorry, I'm back. I just got slightly distracted. My wife my wife thought the webcam was on, but it's not. It's just commentating for the lovely Octane Online Racing Sprint Series. Thank you for having both me and Gob here. We are super happy to commentate this first round. Just 4 minutes left.
Talking about Gob, the correct way to pronounce it is Gub, but I'll take Gubby. You see Perkins, still close to Spence, still wants to position, but just Spence just defending really well, not making it easy for Perkins to pass. And surprisingly, Spa, although it's a wide track, it's surprisingly difficult to pass here. You don't really have many slow corners to pass. A lot of it is very high speed, so it makes it really difficult to pass. Probably one of the best spots to pass will probably be T1 if you're close enough. The bus stop chicane, but apart from that, it's not exactly the easiest track to pass on. As we see Spence with a bigger gap than before. Perhaps Perkins did a small mistake, but that gives Spence a bit of breathing room from the BMW behind him.
3 minutes left, and I don't think we'll be seeing many more passes unless somebody makes a mistake, a little oopsie, as we're back on with John Stockton.
Oh, he's got Glory Babby behind him.
Glory Babby is a
that's going to be interesting, because it's under 3 minutes of racing left.
Look at the hood of Babby's car. You'll see something that tells a big story.
Or perhaps it's got a flappy hood. Obviously, Babby, even with the flappy hood, is not a slow driver, extremely quick. I think they've won a couple races last season, so they're definitely experienced in those cars. Obviously, he was driving the AMG last season, decided, I want to drive the Ferrari this season. And even with the flappy hood, I reckon if Stockton's not careful, Glory Babby has a chance to move up to P17 and minimize his loss for this race.
Stockton might have less damage, but Babby definitely has more skill, because Babby is a pro-class driver. Has won a few races, like you said, last season in the Merc, followed by Hayden Marsh in the John Deere tractor livery for Ferrari. And man, I'm not sure if he just likes John Deere or if that's because, it's a V6. And it kind of
We
sounds like
see
a track.
Babby in the slipstream, Stockton having to go defensive. And, perhaps Hayden March is looking as he tries to go for a move, but decides to pull out of it. Stockton still keeps the position over Babby. But perhaps if these two are not careful, Hayden March could be gifted 2 positions here.
This is still just, it's been nonstop the whole race, and that's what we want from a race. We want it to be an hour filled with content. Unfortunately, the mega crash at the beginning, not the kind of content anybody wishes for, because that ruins some people's races. But to everybody who's hung on and kept racing, I just want to say congratulations. I appreciate the hard work that you guys put in.
Now, obviously, we want some hard racing, but we also want clean racing. So I love, like I said, race 1, excitement, but honestly, those people that managed to keep it clean this race, just big kudos to you guys. That's one of the reasons we race in leagues, is to race cleanly and to race hard and fairly against people of our skill level. As we still see Babby still behind Stockton, probably getting frustrated as he now only has 1 lap after this one to get it done. So perhaps he's going to start pushing a bit too much, and we could see something happening within this next lap.
Yes. Thank you very much, Mark Bushel, Hamster. Him sandals, because gup in Thai means sandal or flip-flop. And I just want to say something else. Babby got destroyed lap 1 from reading the YouTube comment section. The main crash, the McLaren that flew over, you did a jump. That was actually Babby's Ferrari that acted as the ramp for that McLaren. And then a Mustang drove into Babby as well. So,
as we have Felipa winning the race, and that Mustang having to do just 1 more lap.
1 more lap, Mustang. Put it in. Come on.
But we have Felipa finishing the race in P1. Lucas Keys is going to have to settle for P2. He might be a bit bummed out with this one, but at the same time, he's not just racing some random driver. It is Felipa, after all. She's an extremely quick driver. We have Stephen Tai going through bus stop right now to take the last step on the podium. And Hobbsy not far behind as well. He got up to P4. He'll be somewhat happy with that one. Obviously, these pro drivers, extremely competitive, so anything under P1, they won't be super happy about. But at the same time, with the caliber of drivers we have in Split Yellow / Split SRO, they'd still be pretty happy with that. As Stockton still ahead of Babby, and Babby's running out of racetrack here to make a move. And if Stockton just can keep it on track and just stay ahead, specifically at the bus stop, he could finish ahead as he goes a bit slidey through campus, going through Stavolo 1 now.
Looks like Hayden's actually made up some time too. Hayden's closer than before, as they're going into the final sector.
And no,
the final
Stockton
lap.
goes wide, but Babby isn't close enough to capitalize on it. And it looks like Babby actually, perhaps the damage is causing his car to just not turn very well. Perhaps doesn't have any front end grip, but look, that car just looks extremely understeery. The Ferrari's not known for being understeery, but I think it's too late. Stockton probably going to hold onto P17. That is a solid effort, especially against a driver in the caliber of Glory Babby. But Babby himself getting caught up in a lap 1 incident, managing to finish the race. Kudos to him as well. Almost had it done, but I think the damage was just too much for him to handle and pass Stockton, as we have Wood with a 10-second invoice. Perhaps Paul Kranich? I think he might be clear of Paul Kranich. Unsure. We'll see right now. And yeah, just managed to stay ahead of Paul Kranich, so he'll be happy with that one. Paul Kranich himself getting a decent position. He just moved up to Pro-Am, so that was really, really good. Alrighty, so the top 10 rounds up it is. We got Pip Felipe Bokita in P1 with a dominant performance, followed by Lucas Keys. That's followed by Stephen Ty. That will be your podium sitters. They're followed by Mitch Hobbs, Benjamin Hignett, Brad Cook, Joshua Holmes, Vediger, McDowell, and Jay Sweeney round up your top 10. In silver class, it will be Jay Sweeney, Perkins, and a top 3 will be Jay Sweeney taking the P1, Perkins in P2, and Loopty P3. And in Pro-Am, we'll have Spence P1, fantastic race from him, Layla Bell in P2, drive. And Nash in P3. In AM will be Ivan Lee, dominant performance once more for the AM class. And I think he does not deserve that AM badge. He needs to be bumped up. Richard Hopkinson in P2. He was P3 before. It looks like he managed to get ahead of Byrne. I think Byrne had a penalty, so Byrne will close out the podium. So that is it for all our classes. Who was your driver of the day, John?
I want to say, for me, I think it's Ivan Lee, because he managed to make up so many positions, but also to keep those positions. Because so many people, you can see pace does not mean you win the race alone. And Ivan Lee, and same for Spence. It's between Ivan Lee and Spence, because they both had dominant performances holding that spot. Like, yeah, Philippa, all the way up there, and she just held it the whole time. And these two did much of the same, where they just held on to it. And who was yours, Tim?
I think I agree with you. They both had really good races, kept it clean, and sometimes keeping it clean is all you have to do to hold a good position. So anyways, that was Split Yellow. What a fantastic start of the season. And we'll move to Split Green. Thank you for having us. I am Tim Gobe, and that was John Gormley commentating Split Yellow.
And good evening, everybody. We are back. Welcome to the Octane Online Racing Simrigs Sprint Series. We are here with Splint Green for season 21. I am Austin, and in the booth with me is Liam Hamilton. How are we, mate?
I didn't realise we had that sort of relationship, Austin.
We do now. We're commentating.
Yeah, very close. No, I'm very well, very good. Thank you. Excited to be back in the commentary box for another season here, back at Spa. I feel like it's been a little while since we've been back here, but yeah, I'm very well. How about yourself?
Yeah, good. I am excited for this race after the Majesty that was split yellow. We're going to have to see if we can top that one from split green tonight. But should be good content regardless. Looks like we've got good track conditions. We're out on track at the moment, starting our first few hot laps for qualifying. So we'll have to keep an eye out who comes on top. We're on board at the moment with John Rad and his orange McLaren. Yeah, you got any calls for who you think might be putting at P1 today?
I think we'll see the usual suspects at the top. Looking at a few of these driver names, there's certainly some familiar names in here. The likes of Jacob Weatherburn, Damiano, we've seen put in some strong performances, so it'll be good to see how he performs tonight, as well as Taufik and the usual gang that we would expect to see in here. So see how they perform tonight. I'm assuming we'll get back into the 16, as we're already into the 16s. This game has gotten faster since I've last driven this track, I swear. Yeah, we're already into the 16, so there are going to be some pretty hot laps in tonight. It's a hell of a lot drier than the qualifying session from split yellow, so it'll allow these drivers to stretch their legs a little bit further and see what they can get up to.
Yeah, as we see that 16-1 pumped straight in by Name there. I've definitely raced with him before, and he is a quick operator. And Taufik going 8 tenths lower so far. So I reckon Name's already a safe bet to put in for P1 in this session. We'll have to see how it ramps up till the end. As we hear with Name in his wonderful red and black McLaren. What a great looking car that one. The McLaren always was pretty strong here in Spa. It looks like we got a good variety of cars, although it looks like it's pretty Porsche and Ferrari heavy this split, so we'll have to see how they go.
Yeah, I've got the driver list for split green open at the moment on my left-hand side here, and there's a lot of McLarens in this split as well, from what I can see. A lot of Porsches, handful of Ferraris. Good to see some of the underused cars in here as well. There's a Honda. A bit of love for the Honda here is always good to see. We've also got one BMW in the field, a couple of GTRs, so that will keep Mike Crick happy if he's watching still. And one Mercedes, so it's good to see Mercedes out there. Unfortunately, that car kind of dropped off the face of the earth the last year or so, so nice to see someone still running the old big German brute.
Yeah, it certainly had sort of a bit of a moment there for a little while. It seemed really strong, difficult to drive, so all the pros could jump in it and smash out rapid times, but it just seems to have disappeared of recent. As here we jump onto the beautiful GTR with Graham Hill. What a great looking machine this is. Currently he's sitting, what's that, a 2:17.7 is his best at the moment, so we'll have to see if he can improve upon that. He's 1.5 off the lead. Looks to be a pretty decent lap. I'm sure he's having to manhandle that thing around here. It must be a bit of a beast.
Yeah, as we see Name, I was about to ask, do you think we're going to see a 15 tonight? And Name has now confirmed that. So some very quick lap times here being thrown in by Name. So it'd be interesting to see whether anyone can really catch that. He's 3/4 of a second clear of Nathan Monks in P2 and over a second from P3. So already looking like this might be a dominant performance here from Name. So it'd be interesting to see if anyone can actually do something about that. But yeah, GTR is, I mean, it's a great looking car, and that's a very nice livery there with the flashes of purple. As we see a tiny little lift coming through Eau Rouge and Radion down the Camel Straight. So looks like he's got a decent run up towards the Les Combes chicane here, just about sitting around a 10th up on this current lap. One of those corners where it's super easy to just lose a little bit of time and scrub slightly too much speed off, is he's gained a chunk through the Les Combes chicane. So still definitely some more time in this lap 4 hill. Looks like, oh, is he getting a big slide on? It's not the first time we've seen a GTR do that, so pretty common occurrence for the GTR. Loves to go a bit sideways, so unfortunate there, he's just lost that bit of time. So it looks like he'll be wanting to move up here, probably try and get ahead of Jacob Weatherburn or Albert here.
Yeah, pretty classic qualifying move there. You sort of brake late into the corner, gain 4 tenths, and then realise you've lost it on the exit again. So always tricky to manage that as a driver. You want to push as hard as possible to get the time, but you gain an entry and always lose it on exit. So, but yeah, he's putting in some pretty decent laps. At least that's consistent. As we jump over now to Taufik, he's currently 2 tenths up, which is still 9 tenths off the lead. Yeah, I reckon Name's going to be pretty untouchable this session, I reckon, if he's already got that much of a gap. Also, shout out to Monks putting it 8/10 and into P2. I believe I've seen him mainly drive the Mustangs. To see him jump into the Porsche and immediately be competitive is pretty impressive, to be honest. Do you have any idea what the Porsche is like to drive around Spa?
The Porsche is one of those cars I usually sort of don't touch with a 10-foot pole. I basically haven't driven it at all, so would not have a clue what it would be like. I would think it would be one of the stronger tracks, just thinking about the general characteristics of the rear engine and being good on traction. So I wouldn't think it's one of its strongest tracks, but yeah, definitely a good effort by Nathan Monks. And as you said, usually in the Ferrari, so different to see him in the Porsche. I actually went looking for his name earlier in the attendance list and was looking at the Mustang, so I was surprised when I didn't see that there. So good effort for him to pop that in P2. I hear from the other boys in Split Yellow that he has a interesting livery, and we are now seeing that is certainly quite something. Reminiscent of a livery I think we've seen before here in OOR, the white with the blue writing. I'm not sure if I want to know what that even says, but yeah, that is certainly a livery. Austin, your thoughts on that one?
Well, we've no longer got a split blue, so I feel like it's the wrong livery now, but it's certainly an artistic rendition of a livery, so I can't hate too much. Someone put time and effort into that, however little it was, although I appreciate the Dare Ice coffee, to be fair, as I'm spotting in the... yeah, I think it's Toto's head, yeah, so quite the jokes to this car. It's quite funny. I don't hate it. From a distance, it's a piece of artwork. You just don't look too close. As I think I saw up ahead the one and only Jamie Comboy as well. Good to see him in sprints back in his beautiful Pixel Races McLaren. Once upon a time, I believe that was a championship winning car for him. He won the old split blue. So we're looking to see him be somewhat competitive. Obviously, life is a bit busy for him at the moment. So we'll see here where he can get up to. P3 at the moment, as he comes through Eau Rouge and Radeon with Barker in the Ferrari, which is very risky. That car will just kill you when it wants to through there.
Yeah, there's a GIF floating around I've seen of sympathised spinning from the Ferrari. One has gone off, and Mr. Hignett has followed in sympathy, just having his own accident a couple of seconds behind him. So it's not unknown what the Ferrari likes to do it through Eau Rouge and Radeon here at Spa. So hopefully we don't have another occurrence of that here tonight. As Barker now up 3/10 as he comes through into the corner I forget the name of. I'll have to brush up on my corner names.
This is Bruxelles. Bruxelles coming into No Name. Yeah.
That one we do know, as if you can forget the name of No Name. Still maintaining a nice delta on this lap, so if he keeps his delta up on this one, it should put him into the 16s, which would be a nice strong performance here from Barker. As he gains even more time here through Puon into Pith Path, I want to say. This one's got a few names.
Campus, Pith Path, yeah, I don't know. I've got a track map up actually, and it's Campus here, and then we come through Stavilo, and then actually, you know what? It doesn't even have a name for this next corner, so that's great. I need a new track map.
Stavilo,
but yeah,
say.
Sure, let's do. Oh, and he invalidates. Unlucky. I was just about to say he's just gained consistent time throughout this lap. He's after half a second up. But he just goes a bit wide on the exit there, which is very, very easy to do when you're trying to push through there. But he's got time, he can set one more lap, so that is okay. In fact, he might actually have time for 2. So we'll see if he's got enough fuel for that. No huge rush just yet.
Yeah, just got to watch out that the very long lap here doesn't catch you out. As you see, he was up 7/10, so he's got a lot more time left in this, and he'll know that. So he'll be kicking himself for not for invalidating that lap. And like he said, super easy to do, just to run that slight bit wide, trying to utilise all of the track width coming out of Stavilo to, I believe, is up towards Blanchimont. As we see a bit of a crowd favourite here, Damiano back in the Porsche for another season, running that almost iconic livery, I think, in OR now. We've seen him run that quite a few times.
It basically is, and you almost act surprised if he's in the Porsche again. Like, he doesn't... I'm pretty sure his game is hacked, that there's no other cars in the game. He will drive the Porsche and only the Porsche. I've got him in our Discord server, and we've added some new people. They started discussing what car they wanted to drive, and he immediately jumps in and tells them to drive the Porsche. I've got to put a lasso on this guy every now and then. He's an absolute fiend for it. But yeah, this is a great little livery, to be honest. I actually really like it. He's been running it for ages. And his pace has improved quite a lot recently, although he hasn't... What's his current lap time at the moment? I can't quite tell. 2:17.6. So, not too bad. He might have some pace in this. We'll see what he can manage to pull out of the bag.
Yeah, as he rounds the first corner. Well, it's not quite the first corner in this game. It's a little bit, catches people out a little bit. Yeah, it looks like he's up a little bit of time. This lap is going to be valid. Well, at least at the moment, that lap is valid. We're just seeing Kunos things at the moment. It does seem to be wanting to do this a lot recently, I've noticed in the last couple of months or so. A little bit frustrating when we're trying to run some broadcasts here and knowing who's on a valid lap and who's not. He's pretty even at the moment here. He's way back in 14th though. He's definitely got some more pace in this that he can find, and we've seen Damiano here prove he's a bit becoming an experienced operator, and he should be able to put that car up towards the front if he can string this one together.
It might be a little tricky for him because seeing that the delta's red, it probably means this is his first hot lap after an out lap, which means the tyres probably aren't quite in the perfect situation. So he's going to be having to really push on low fuel to try and get that lap time. As now we jump on with Luca Gaikoman, another very rapid operator, but still 1.2 seconds off the pace, which is P5. That's kind of nuts. So we can see he's getting a couple of tenths through this last chicane here. He's just losing a bit of time on exit, but that's still an improvement. Does it get him into the 16s? Not quite, no. So he's still in the 17s, and he's got one more lap in him. We'll see if he made any big mistakes, if he's got any time to gain there. He'll probably be trying to crack into the 16s himself, get a bit closer to P1 there. He's looking... no time gained on exit T1 here. We'll have to see how he goes through Arouge and Radeon.
Yeah, Giacomo, one of the faster operators in this split here. He should be well and truly pushing for a 16 as the Ferrari safely made it through Eau Rouge and Radeon and down the Kemmel straight. Yeah, I think he'll be pushing for a 16. We know he can do that. And there is a very tight margin to Taufik in front of him. Good to see him back in the Ferrari. I had to do a bit of a double take when I was in the Duo series and all of a sudden saw his name next to McLaren. I wasn't sure what was going on there, but I believe he was a bit of a last-minute substitute into that McLaren. So he'll be feeling back at home, back in that Ferrari, I can almost guarantee you. Graham Hill coming around the corner for his final lap, but he's pushed it too deep. He's still up, though. He's going to try and get an exit. It's going to be... he's going to push it all... pushed it too hard. It's going to lose all of that pace. That's unfortunate. Super easy to do. And the GTR just keeping on sliding as it likes to do. Yoda here coming through No Name, or Speaker's Corner apparently now, as the game has decided. Is up a little bit of time. I want to be trying to get ahead of Albert or Barker here, so we'll see how this lap comes out through Puon. Nice corner. It's super rewarding to get it right, but super easy to just push that a little bit too hard and scrub too much speed out of it. As he's now coming into Lefania, there's another name for this corner. So many corner names for this track. Yes, he's now up 0.2 of a second as we come into the bottom of the corner into Stavilo. I believe that is, or is it Campus? I think there's a famous...
That one was Stavilo. You got that one right.
So there's an F1 video that got put out with this track with all the variations of corner names. It's a good watch if anyone hasn't seen it. As we come up the hill towards Blanchimont, I did know that one. I had to think about it. This corner should be flat out. It's still in 5th gear in the Mustang because why not? Who needs correct gear ratios? As we come into the final bus stop chicane, one braking zone left, and it's super easy to send it a little bit too hard as he gains a lot of time. About 0.3 of a second coming in, and looks like he's got a good exit. He's going to gain it half a second. That should put him up a fair way, probably up to P5, P6, just behind Giacomo there.
Yeah, pretty good session from everyone there. Name taking out the top spot with Mux in P2 in that Porsche. And we have lost our stream that we were watching.
Yeah, super dominant.
Yeah.
Fully rough from Name. Surely, what are we thinking for this race? You reckon Name's going to be able to pull away in race pace as well?
I think as long as he doesn't have an accident, I think he will probably be fairly clear. Monks will probably be trying to push to sort of gain an advantage as early as possible with the Porsche's acceleration off the green lights, but it's going to be tricky. As quick as it is, it's not necessarily that much quicker. But yeah, it's going to be hard work because they'll have to get in front of him and then hold him there. But if he just makes a break for it at the start of the race, then I think that might be game over as long as he keeps it on the black stuff. So looking here, so we got Monks in second. Then we have Taufik in third. JC has ended up in fourth with Giacomin in fifth. So that should be a nice little spicy battle up the front there. So yeah, what are your predictions for the start of this race? Are we having split yellow part 2, or are we setting the standard for safe and nice driving?
Well, to segue over to crashes, if you guys didn't see, I recommend scrubbing back through the stream a little bit and having a look at the start of Split Yellow. It was absolutely monumental accident. There was cars going over the top of other cars. I think 3/4 of the field ended up involved in that one somehow, and they didn't even make it to a Rouge yet. So we're still down the start-finish straight before they even when they had this accident. So kind of brings back memories of the 12 meters at Imola and a few other sort of law incidents that we've seen now. So I think there's going to be a little bit of carnage in this one, to be honest. First race back of the season, a little bit of rust from some drivers, the pre-race nerves, all of that going on, and quite a tricky sort of first section of corners here. Obviously, the start-finish straight in ACC, not like the F1 game, is around the first corner. So the first corner that you're actually tackling is Eau Rouge and Radion. So you've got to make sure that if you're trying to go 3 wide, someone's going to have to back out of it, or we will just see a repeat of what we saw earlier.
Yeah, as we come through the field here, look at all the wonderful liveries in split green. Some real pieces of art here as we come past these beautiful McLarens. There's Thurcolini's Porsche, followed by another nice blue Porsche. Here's this Merc. I remember seeing a picture of this Aston with the white lion on the back. Very nice. That bright green Honda with the pink wheels. All right, maybe less nice, not going to miss it though. Yeah, these are some wonderful cars. We have some great livery makers in OLR. There's been quite a few people stepping up and trying their hand at making some liveries, and it's really, really coming together. I quite like that rally Ford Mustang that we just went past. Actually, that was a good-looking car.
Yeah, as long as we don't try and replicate a rally car with that Mustang, but yeah, that's a very nice livery. And that Aston, as you pointed out, that probably, at the moment from what I've seen, probably my pick so far in terms of the liveries for this season. That is a very nice livery on a very nice car, if I must say so myself. Not that I'm biased at all or love the Aston or anything like that. But it's treated me well, and some good replica liveries here, like Yoda's Ford Credit livery. Yeah, some good liveries up and down the field, as always, in OR.
Yeah, and it's interesting that you mentioned the rust, because for OOR, this was actually one of the shortest breaks I think they've had between seasons. So theoretically, everyone should still be somewhat warmed up. It hasn't been that long since we've been doing some racing. Of course, some people may have come back to sprints for the first time in a while, start of a new season and all that. But hopefully, I wish to see that there's a bit of a safer start. As much as I love content, I do love the content. Let's try and get everyone through Radion and Eau Rouge first, and then the content can happen somewhere else, maybe with some good racing.
Yeah, that's the content that we aim for here, isn't it? It's some clean racing and some good overtakes, and hopefully a nice relaxed night from the stewards. You know what? We are just cursing this entire start of the race, talking about that like this. You know that, don't you?
That's the point. Yes.
We're going for that content. Yeah, hopefully a clean start to this race. And just to talk about some of the conditions here and the settings for this race. So I was looking through the server settings earlier, and it's a 0 mandatory stop. So everyone's goal, as far as I understand, will be to try and run the full 60 minutes without making a pit stop. Do you know if any cars that are unable to do a 60-minute stint here at Spa, Austin?
No, I think for 60 minutes, all cars are fairly safe. So this should just be a big old sprint to the end. I believe the weather settings for this week were completely random. So it could be full wet, it could be not, it could be mixed, nobody knows. So that's interesting, but it does look like we're just fully dry for this race. I don't see any weather on the radar, at least for the next 30. So yeah, it looks like we're just in for an all-out sprint to the end here, if no one's having to stop. So as we form up into double file here, coming down through Blanchimont, down the final straight. Give me one prediction before the start of the race here, Liam.
One prediction: there will be cars that will be racing. No, I think we're going to. I'd like to see a good fight for the podium. I think tonight. That's what I want to see as a prediction.
Yeah, sweet. I think Name is going to run away with it a little bit, but I reckon pretty much down to P6, P7, I reckon might be pretty spicy. So I'm sure there'll be some good races here. As we slow down to 80 now, everyone's forming up behind the cars next to each other. Make sure you're in line Don't worry about the cars next to you, just worry about the car in front of you. Make sure you're not speeding too much. As you come around this final corner, line up over your pit boxes. Now, of course, we're not about to go racing just yet. You have to keep waiting. It is quite a long time until we go racing, because of course we go down towards Eau Rouge and Redillion.
I mentioned it before and I still got caught out by it.
Yeah, right? It's same here. So everyone's just sitting here patiently waiting and waiting. That nerves are building up. First race of the season. Just got to try and make it through cleanly. I'm sure a lot of these drivers have seen what happened in the previous race and don't want to follow through. Catch up to the car ahead. Line up over your pit boxes. We're waiting for the green. As they're sitting here, it's about to go green. Waiting. How far down the hill is this? And we're green, and we are racing in split green. We come down to Eau Rouge and Redillion. We'll see if they can make it through too wide. That's perfectly fine. Looks like no one's making any significant contact. I reckon their RD had a big talk to them before this race. That was very nice and clean. As we see, Name comes out in top in front of Monks, followed closely by JC, who's looking to make that move down into the next corner. Still, everybody's clean. Now we'll watch through this braking zone, make sure nobody hits anyone up the rear, keep it clean. I'm sure there'll be plenty of 2 and 3 wides here as people try and make moves. As we watch Weatherburn go up the inside of this Porsche of Miller. Can't quite hold it around the outside there, so now Barker's trying to make a move up the inside, not quite there. Will he dive down the inside through Bruxelles? Doesn't quite. Pulls out, keeps his nose clean, very good. I'm sure there'll be plenty of opportunities for this Mustang to try and make a move on the Porsche, particularly down the straights. But obviously it's going to pull, Porsche will pull out of the corners, so it's going to be a tricky little fight between these two. But I can see one person who seems to have dropped off the back of the pack, but for the rest of it, it seems to be not too bad so far. So well done, Split Green. We're doing pretty well so far.
Yeah, hats off to the drivers here of Split Green. That was a lot cleaner than the Split Yellow start. So I would say there's definitely been a bit of talking to from the RD to try and make sure we don't have a repeat of that as it looks like we're back in towards single file now. So this will be an interesting battle to keep an eye on here, as sort of the strengths of the Mustang and the Porsche are about as far opposite as you could possibly get. So Yoda right up the back of Miller here, going to be getting a slipstream up towards Blanchimont, one of the tricky corners to be going side by side. So right at the start of the race, it might be worth Miller just backing out of this one, but he's going to try and hold it around the outside as he loses that position, and that is Yoda up one more position. Giacomin here made it up to, I think he started P5 or P6, I want to say, so made up a spot or two here at the start of the race. So hopefully he can keep in touch as well. Name goes, or the fastest lap, and he was also the first one to cross the line. So, but I wouldn't be surprised if we see that fastest lap banner come up with his name, with Name's name on there a few more times this race.
Yeah, I suspect the same. I can't quite remember where everybody qualified. I think Taufik's down 2, because I remember Conboy being in 4th. Monks was 2nd, but Conboy was 4th, and Guy Coman was 5th. So I think Taufik's had a bit of a rough start. And Conboy and Guy Coman have been able to capitalise on that. And JC Philly seems to have a bit of pace because he's still right in the back of Monks anyway, so he's hunting for this position as it looks like he's trying to make the move into the start of Lake Hom. As he... Oh! JC, he's lost it. That was a bit too much. I've jinxed him. I'm sorry, JC, that's on me. But
send the inbox to you instead.
Oh well, he'll have a bit of racing to do now as he's behind the Doge Aston. What a great car that is. Yeah, two wonderful liveries here.
That is certainly a livery we've got, the Pixel Racers livery, as I see a couple little Easter eggs to the incredible references. I see Jack on the side and just poking out the bonnet there of that McLaren. Yeah, it looks like he might have pushed it a little bit too hard into Lake Hom and just lost the rear end. I've done that myself in the McLaren here, so unfortunately something that might be a little bit easy to do on that car. So looks like he's dropped back a few positions. I don't think that Delta has updated yet. I think he's further back than so further back than we can actually see at the moment, but going to be now behind the Aston Martin there. So he'll be able to work his way back up. It's a nice track to get some slipstreams and get some overtakes done.
Yeah, I mean, he'll be upset with himself that he made that mistake, but he's settled into P11. That's where he is at the moment. Thank you, game, for catching up. He's behind Albert here in this Aston Martin, and I'm sure he'll still enjoy racing. He's got plenty of time to make some spots back up. He's not too far off the lead at the moment, but obviously I don't think his pace was so great that he'll be able to catch up to them fairly easy, as here we are with Guy Coman trying to make a move on Monks through the final chicane here, as he tries to do the switchback, but the acceleration of the Porsche keeps him in front, as there you go, there's the fastest lap from Name, a 17.5 race pace. That is I was about to say 6 tenths, but he hit a 15 in quality. So as we see Guy Coman dive up the inside there, absolutely huge moves. Does he get the switchback? Uses the acceleration of the Porsche again, so now he's up the inside. And got to be careful, lads. It's dangerous to go too wide here. We'll see if either of them back out, as we do. Guy Coman pulls back out and he covers the inside. Very good racing there. This is some great little racing. This is keeping the two behind them in check too, with Tofik and Weatherburn sort of keeping their eyes and rubbing their hands on this, watching the possible content that may arise ahead of them. Could be a couple of free spots coming their way.
Yeah, and that opens up a big opportunity for a slipstream. So see Tafik trying to poke the nose in on Gio Coman, and they all make it through the corner cleanly. Oh, as you see a little wobble there from the Porsche, so got to be careful on that one. Yeah, that's some really good racing, and they are pushing really hard still while battling here. So good to see a nice fight for the podium. Looks like we've got a four-way fight at the moment, so something don't see every day here. So as long as this can continue through the race, that'll be amazing to see. Is Weatherburn back in P5, and that has allowed even Miller to catch up. So this squabbling here has lost them a lot of time, and Gio Coman using the grass esports line into Puon is a bit of an interesting one there. I don't know what that's going to give you apart from some extra track width. It's not quite iRacing where you need to drive on the grass to cool the tyres down, so some inventive lines going on through here, and it looks like the Porsche's just run away a little bit through the middle sector here, through the tight twisty stuff, and the Ferrari's no slouch either. It looks like almost the top 10 is forming an entire train here as we come around to finish off our third lap here.
You absolutely love to see this sort of racing. Head bumper to bumper, as close as you can possibly get. It is surprisingly a little bit difficult to overtake here. You sort of only got a couple of semi-decent opportunities depending on how you get runs, say through Eau Rouge and Radion up into down the Kemmel Straight towards Les Cons. That's pretty much your main one, but we can see that can clearly go wrong thanks to the demonstration by JC. For the rest, because there's honestly it's just a corner after corner, it is hard to make a move. So depending when you get people when people like Monks who can defend so well in the front of trains like this, you just sort of end up getting 3, 4, 5, 6 cars all right next to each other, which is just, it's great watching. We love it here from the commentator's booth. As we see here, a 5-second penalty for 819 Darrell Lim for causing a collision on lap 1. Now 5 second is quite light, so it mustn't have been anything too significant. Maybe that's why we spotted that single car a little bit behind the field at the start of the race. So a little slap on the wrist there, not too bad. As here we are coming down the Kemmel Straight again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cars, honestly within reach here of Nathan Monks.
I don't remember the last time I've seen a train that big in one of these sprint races, so this is going to be some amazing viewing here, as no one's making any moves at the moment, not quite close enough for a slipstream, but yeah, everyone's just sort of keeping in check here. If anyone makes a small mistake, Gio Coman's having a look towards the inside. He's going to try and send a dive through there. Definitely not one to count out for a late dive bomb is Gio Coman, up the inside of Monks in the Porsche and up into second place. And he's got to watch out that he's not a bit slow off of the corner and allows Tawfiq to have a look as well. So some bold driving here from Gio Coman. It looks like it has paid off and he was able to send the nose in. One corner you can sort of make an overtake if you get a good run. The car ahead of you makes a little bit of a mistake into Bruxelles. But yeah, it's a nice move from him up into second place. And as we see coming into the corners, the pack will bunch up and we'll get to the straights and it'll draw out a little bit, but this is definitely going to be one to keep an eye on.
Yeah, this is some pretty good racing so far. I have seen some little birdies say that possibly Guy Coman's dive into T1, I think 2 laps ago, was possibly a little less than optimal. We'll have to see if anything comes of that. I don't think there was any contact made, but there did have to be avoidance moves taken. We'll see what the stewards think of that one. But as we see here now, we've got Monks holding down the fort against Taufik, who also is looking very pacey. Poor Monks seems to have just managed to pull together a god lap in quali, and then the poor soul doesn't have that much race pace in the Porsche at the moment, and everyone's just trying to swallow him up. As we see Name come in with another purple lap, 17.2. That is proper quick in race pace.
Yeah, Diabol's just confirming in chat there the 5 seconds was for a bump pass. So, as you said, a little bit of a slap on the wrist. So, not sure what happened to the, I want to say it was the 666 car. As you see another penalty coming there for Nick Jones. I'm not sure what happened to the car at the start of the race there. I think maybe a pit lane start. Someone may have forgot to press drive. But yeah, so far it's been a clean opening to this race, especially compared to Split Yellow. I still cannot believe it. It looks like this pack has dropped off a little bit now. We've only got 4 cars, so Miller might be doing his best to hold up the Ferrari of Barker and possibly the McLaren behind him. As Monk's trying to get a slipstream on Giacomin, just a little bit too far back, so going to hang on to that position, but this train is looks like they're a little bit inseparable at the moment as we continue on here for this race. So Taufik defending there from Weatherburn as we go into Bruxelles. Yeah, this train will hopefully continue as the race goes on there.
Yeah, it's been pretty good so far. I'm just shouting out Miller in that Porsche. If he is currently classified as Pro-Am, and he's well outperforming in Pro-Am classification. So good job to him. Either you will be bumped up very soon, or you are having a ripper day there. And shout out to Sakanias as well, up there in 8th in silver. Quite a clear lead over his silver compatriots at the moment. So yeah, having a look here. JC still in P11, hasn't quite made the move on Albert yet, so clearly having a bit of a struggle trying to get past that Aston. It is very quick in a straight line, so it can be difficult to do.
Yeah, I've experienced that firsthand, as the Aston is a bit of a monster in the straight line. Not the best out of the first corner, but once those turbos do get spooled up, it will be rocketing along. So a little bit, his work's cut out for him a little bit there. It looks like he's actually dropped off the back of Albert, so dirty air effect is definitely something you'll notice through Poo-on through the middle sector here, and it can be a little bit hard to follow, and then you start overheating your tyres, and can be a bit of a nightmare. So like we say, definitely not one of the easiest tracks to overtake, like we were saying before. And he'll want to try his best to try and catch up to the back and close up to Albert and get right up in that slipstream of the Aston Martin, try and get a slipstream down the Kemmel Straight.
Yeah, and also just looking at the scoreboard here, we've been talking about this 4-car train at the beginning, but if you look from, we'll go from Barker, that was pretty much 6 tenths to Thurks, 5 tenths to Rad, 5 tenths to Bishop. Like this middle part of the pack is almost even closer. There's maybe only 1 or 2 sort of larger gaps here, so absolutely rapid pace from everybody, very, very close. It's just no one can quite get close enough to sort of make the moves. I don't think we've seen a Ferrari kill themselves through Eau Rouge and Radillon yet. I didn't jinx it just yet. Ooh, but that looked a bit close for a second. Actually, the camera played some tricks on us as we're watching Thurks try and chase down this Ferrari of Barker. It will be a bit tricky for these Porsches. I think their balance gets a little bit iffy. Maybe not quite just yet, but between 20 and 30 minutes, I think, because of their fuel load and the tyre imbalance, they get a little bit iffy, so it's going to be tricky for them to handle it in a little while, but their pace will definitely come back near the end of the race. As we get another 15-second... Ooh, as Rush McLaren go off there. I just missed that. I wasn't sure if that was contact or driver error. As we see a 15-second penalty come through for James Parker for collision on lap 1.
I see yellow at Eau Rouge, Austin. I don't know if you just
I saw
Ferrari.
Yellow at Eau Rouge, and there seemed to be someone else who was sort of there with him as well. And it is a Ferrari who is going slow. He's certainly slower than normal. We'll have to see.
I think you might have just cursed. I think that is definitely the first commentator's curse of the split green here tonight.
It's been my pleasure. That is an award, and I will wear it like a badge of honor. So I do apologise, but there you go. As we come back on now with Monks, who is still holding off Taufik, still got a little bit of a gap. It just seems to be that last sort of couple of tenths is just impossible to sort of close in on unless you have a significant pace gap. But then also, it's not like Luca Garcoman's pulled away miles from the front of Monks either. So still plenty could happen here, as we see who Weatherburn, I think it is, has just dropped off the back of this pack a little bit as well these last couple of laps. He's sort of got his own space at the moment, so he probably won't mind that too much. A bit of clear air will keep the tyres in check for that Mustang just a little bit more. It's not like it looks after them that well to begin with anyway.
Yeah, these gaps will definitely ebb and flow as this race goes on, but all it takes is one slightly deep braking moment into one of these corners or running a little bit wide, and they'll be right back there within the slipstream getting pulled along. So yeah, it looks like Yoda is, Weatherburner's just fallen off the back of this pack a little bit, but still there. If they get close enough, they might want to battle as we get a replay here. And yeah, that one is going to go to you, Austin. That is exactly what we were talking about with the Ferrari there, just getting a little bit upset through Eau Rouge, and unfortunately for Gamble, round it goes, dropping him to the back of the field. So we pick back up.
You know what? He didn't hit a wall. He didn't hit a wall. All is good. Could have been so much worse.
Tires are roasted, but yes, did not manage to keep it out of the wall. So again, very easy to do here is throw the car and fire it into the fence and basically ruin your race with minutes worth of damage. So at least he did keep it out there. As we go back to the battle for P2, I was going to say the battle for the lead, but Name has absolutely buggered off now. 7.5, nearly 8 seconds. So you see some more penalties rolling through for lap 1. So maybe not quite as clean as we were first led to believe, but no safety car. So that's all. That's what we can, what we sort of want to see in this. As Taufik just catching up to the back of Monks here for P3. I wonder, this is one of those tracks where the setup is, it's always going to be a compromise, whether you want pace in the middle sector or whether you want pace down the first and the third sector down those straights. So possibly Taufik running a little bit more wing than Monks is in the Porsche. It's something that can be used to separate these cars, whether you want to go for straight line speed or some overtakes, or a bit more downforce, try and take care of those tyres and keep up behind other cars.
Yeah, it's always a bit tricky because you tend to sort of lean into your particular car's strengths. So me is pretty much Lamborghini main. The thing doesn't have any top line speed, so I'm going to lean into the middle sectors to make sure it's quick there to make up the time. Problem is, you don't overtake through a corner. You overtake down the straights with a good exit, so it's never a great race car. So it's always a bit tricky. There are some pretty creative setups out there, particularly like low wing Porsches and whatnot. He's got enough rear traction so that you can run low wing because the engine's sitting on the rear tires, so it's not the worst. But yeah, you sort of got to try and find that balance with this, because what's a quick qualifying car may not necessarily be a good race car because you won't be able to overtake anybody. So as we watch here with Thurks probably having that sort of similar issue, as quick as the Porsche can be, is trying to pull up to the back of an Aston Martin. Speaking of, and Convoy has jumped up to 9th. I was about to say that Convoy used to be behind this Aston Martin, but JC's finally picked up the pace. Looks like Albert, they didn't lose any spots, but both Graham Hill and JC Convoy seem to have gotten past Albert and Barker. I wonder if anything happened there, or if that was just some racing. Seems like we missed a little bit of something going on there.
Yeah, I think it was just some racing that we might have missed off of screen. We've been focusing up on the front of the pack. But yeah, as you say, Convoy and Hill just making some moves there further up the field. So yeah, good to see them working their way back up. It might be that they've just gotten into a bit of a rhythm now and as finding their feet, especially after a bit of a spin or an incident. It's really easy to get frustrated with yourself and just throw everything out the window and become aggressive to try and make it up. You start making mistakes and your mindset just spirals out of control. So I think he's picked himself back up, and we'll see Convoy work his way back up the field. And I'm expecting Damiano to come back up. Wasn't the strongest qualifying from him. I think he's usually got a little bit more pace in him than that. So he'll just be hanging here trying to wait for the perfect opportunity to get past Albert and start working his way back up the field, back towards the front of the pro field here.
Yeah, he's a very measured driver. He won't make any gigantic lunges or anything. He'll only make a move if it's truly on. So he'll just sit there, he'll wait for a mistake from the Aston. He's probably realised he's either catching in the wrong spots or he's just not really catching in general at the moment. So he'll just keep the pressure on, keep the fire under his bumper until it starts melting. But yeah, I'm sure he'll just got to keep it on track and do what he can. I'm sure he'll keep that pace up. And as I mentioned, as the fuel load gets lower in the Porsche, I'm sure he'll get a bit of pace back relative to everyone around him as well. It really sort of picks up at the end of the stint there once the balance comes back. So looking at the board here, we've still got Name out ahead. He's got quite a good gap, followed by Guy Kerman, who is still in P2. As we come to a replay, actually, I believe this will be the move that got JC past Albert. As he goes up the inside here, through Stavelot, and then through this final corner, down the straight here. Yeah, that's a great move. So then looking at this, I'm sure the GTR would have gotten a mega exit too, but probably the only car that would have been able to compete with the Aston out of that corner. And it looks like he gets the best of him through Blanchimont as well. So yeah, that's sort of a bit of a chain reaction there. JC pushes Albert wide through Stavelot, and then Nissan's able to capture that as well. So good racing there. Sucks to lose out 2 positions, but you always got to be careful of those things. Sometimes it's better to let go earlier so you don't lose some more positions.
Yeah, that move actually cost him 3 positions. I just caught in the back a shot of that replay, Barker sneaking through into the braking zone of the bus stop chicane. So yeah, ended up costing him 3 spots, and all it was just being out of position a little bit on the outside of Savalo too. It's just going to ruin your run up the hill. So yeah, lost out 3 positions through that. So something to keep in mind almost is sometimes it may be better just to back out of it, slit in the slipstream of the car ahead, and maybe look to make another move down the next straight. Or you can just, you'll lose a couple of positions very easily just by being out of position in such a critical corner. As we move back up to the front of the field, looks like Giacomin has been able to pull away from Taufik. Taufik, I think, got ahead of Monks. I believe he was behind before, so there was a position change there for the podium, just out of shot. So looks like, Giacomin might have the overall pace. We'll see if he can go and catch Name, but Name's race pace still looking really strong here tonight. 8-second gap, so we'll keep an eye on that one and see how that progresses through the night. And we'll see if Monks can latch onto the back of Taufik and pull him along here. But yeah, it looks like Giacomin's going to have the early pace here, and I think we're starting to see some of these gaps spread out a little bit now. Barker probably the closest to the car ahead, so everyone's kind of settling into a rhythm, and the grid is sorting itself out a bit now. So you see some fighting at the back with Babby, with Babin. Is that the Aston of Lim? So going to be probably biased towards the Aston here in this battle with the straight line speed. Should be good enough to make a move on the Porsche if he can stay in the slipstream. Interesting livery there on the Porsche that I'm seeing at the moment. It's is that skin colored or something, or is there more to that? I'm not quite sure what I'm looking at here.
You don't want to look too closely. It's I can't remember the name of the phobia, but it's basically trying to trigger you.
Yep, I know the one you're talking about.
So you know what I'm talking about. And actually, the one car that I saw slightly off the rear of the pack at the start of the race is Michael Babb. I think I recognise the number now that I remember about it, 666. He always starts from the pits. That's kind of Michael Babb's thing. He enjoys racing from the back there, so that makes a lot of sense. He's just trying to work his way back up through the field. That's the way he likes to race, so that makes a lot of sense. But yeah, so it does look like there's a couple of more gaps formed at this point. There's still a little bit of a train there going through Lake Holm at the moment. So they're not too far spread apart at this point. As I also saw, where was it? One of the pens, yes, people saying there was a 15-second pen for 49 was not paying attention to yellows in the final chicane and causing an accident. So still got to watch out for those yellows. As much as we're not physically in that much danger, they still mean something. You got to watch out for those cars when they have an accident. So big whack on the wrist for that one.
Yeah, I think we saw an in-split yellow at the start of that race. There may have been a few drivers that weren't paying attention to those yellows either, as it just kept piling into the cars that were spun. So yeah, something for everyone to remember. If there are yellow flags, just have a little lift and save yourself blowing straight into the side of another car that maybe stopped around a corner that you can't see, or there's something else that's happened on the track, and it'll save your race and keep you in the fight rather than try and not lose a second or two and absolutely ruin everything. So we see a battle here for looks like it's in the top 10. The GTR on the back of the McLaren. GTR has really good acceleration, so he will be in the fight for sure with Convoy. As we'll see, hopefully he should be able to get a good launch out of the first corner and down through Eau Rouge and Radion up the Kemmel Straight. As long as he can sit in the slipstream of the McLaren. Fought a few GTRs in my time, and it's a very strong car off of the corner and very, very strong acceleration here. So definitely going to have the advantage through these tight hairpins of the bus stop and into, why can I not remember the name of the first corner here at Spa? Into La Source. There we go. Yeah, so we'll see if Hill can keep in the fight, and we've got Sacanius, I believe that is, at the front of this pack. So 4 cars in a fight for sort of the top 8 to top, from 11th to 8th in this battle. As that looks like it might be a little bit wide. So something to touch on actually in this race is track limits is not too bad, but it can be very easy to accrue those track limits and cutting at the top of Radeon. So something to watch out for, and hopefully we don't see any races ruined by drive-throughs for track limits. And if you do get a drive-through here, that pit lane is going to hurt. A very long pit lane, and I think it's what, the best part of 60 seconds or so for a drive-through here?
Something ridiculous like that. I'm pretty sure it's the worst DT on the calendar, bar maybe Indy, maybe. I'm pretty sure this one's the worst. It is just so long. So you really got to look after those track limits, you're right. You got to try and make sure you set at least one good flying lap, and that gives you a little bit of buffer room next time you sort of go over the track limits to just make sure you don't get a warning. As you see, another penalty come through, still on lap 2, Gunnar Atkins number 22, drive through for causing a collision. So that is a big slap. As we are just talking about how long and painful that pit lane is, that one's on you. I'm going to blame that one on you. That's like from the past curse.
Well, yeah, you see, I think that incident happened before I was talking about it, so I don't know whether you can count that one, but you know, I'll take it. I've had a few curses already, and I'll take that one as well. But yeah, just sort of very much on topic of a drive-through here. So definitely, it was lap 2, I think, as well. So there seems to be some sort of chaos that we might have missed at the start of this race, and yeah, the penalties are starting to roll in for it now, as we see there is Marshall on the back of Miller. So Marshall has sort of started a little bit further back, as that's going to be very deep for Miller, and going to allow the Aston Martin of Marshall right through. It's super easy to just outbrake yourself into the bus stop chicane, and that's up another position for Marshall, I think, starting a little bit further back from what I remember. So he's got some sort of pace here as we sort of getting close towards the halfway mark of this race. Here's the Aston's coming towards him. Aston's coming to him. The fuel load is burning off, and that car is hopefully just going to get faster and faster as that fuel comes off.
Yeah, and speaking of fuel, a little birdie has told me from the YouTube chat that Weatherburn may have underfueled his Mustang for this race, so he's probably already in fuel-saving mode, hence why maybe he dropped off a bit quicker from the back of that pack earlier than we thought he might have. So definitely one thing to watch out there for, as we see JC pull out down Camel Straight here, trying to make a move on Zacharias. We got 2 McLarens coming through here. We don't want to spin at JC. I don't want to do anything to him again. As he holds it around the outside. Ooh, holds onto it. Very good. That's a good move from JC. Now does Zacharias hold onto from that GTR, who's going to have a mega pull out of this next corner. He's going to have to watch for the dive coming down here into Bruxelles. Covers it off nicely, doesn't make anything too radical. All right, good racing. Unlucky to lose that spot from JC. He clearly had a good run out of T1 and up through Eau Rouge. Made the move nicely, but he's done well to hold on to the next spot into P9. Still in the top 10. Some good little racing here.
Yeah, he saw the move coming from Hill and just moved towards the inside a little bit, just to sort of not really blocking and defending, but just sort of saying, hey, you're not coming through here. And as we see Hill maybe just run a little bit wide through Puon, and that's going to invite Barker up to alongside the GTR. He's going to try and hold it around the outside. Looks like he might be able to get that one, as puts him on the inside for the second part of the of this chicane here, the Lafania chicane, I believe that is. And I'm not sure if he's been able to hold on to that one. We'll see here in a second as the camera cuts around. It looks like, still very close, and I think Hill has just held that one as we now go. Pushed him out of position up through Stavilo 2, and see who's going to get the drag up the hill. And that GTR is super quick out of the corner, and that Ferrari with its big turbos and lots of turbo lag will not stand a chance, because going side by side through there, you're going to have a lift, so it's got to come back on power. As we see Barker looks going to try and send it really tight up the inside, and Hill just allows in the room, but doesn't quite get it. Just cuts that nose off a little bit and stops Barker from coming through there. And let's see who gets the run out of this tight chicane. It looks like Barker is the Ferrari's got no answer to that GTR on the exit of the corner. So nice, very nice driving from Hill to defend from the Ferrari, and he's going to want to keep that Ferrari in his mirrors, and for his sake, he'll be hoping it does Ferrari things through here, but I somehow doubt that's going to be the case, and he's going to have to defend again super hard coming up the Camel Straight. As we see here, we go through Eau Rouge and then Radeon at the top. Barker keeping it clean, keeping the Ferrari in check, and now he's going to be able to sit right there in the slipstream and just watch the gap close as he's going to get closer and closer, and thinking about where as late as he can possibly hit the brakes. He's going to go for a very last-minute look, pokes the nose in, but decides to back out of it. So not quite close enough, and unfortunately it might mean he's going to have to sit behind for another lap. Oh, he's showing Hill that he is still there. So Hill's going to have to keep an eye on that mirror, just make sure that Barker doesn't send a very late move down the inside. But crucially, he also can't make a mistake himself. There's one small mistake, and I would say Barker is through in that position. So yeah, very nice driving from Hill to keep Barker behind him.
Yeah, absolutely great racing from these two. We're watching here as well, Thurcolini slowly catching up to the back of these two, because going too wide through all these corners certainly isn't the fastest racing line. So Thurcolini's just sort of sitting there. He's trying to catch up at the moment, looking for any activity ahead that might get him a little bit closer. And also, Sakanias and Comboy have really been able to pull a gap in front of these two. It's always one of the tricky things. You want to sort of race with somebody. One, it's fun, and two, you're trying to make up positions, but then you lose so much time to the cars around you. It's a bit tricky sometimes to manage an overall sort of race pace, what risks to take and where sort of what moves to do. So, but yeah, we can see he's dropped a little bit off the back of Graham Hill here. Clearly just a bit of dirty air through that last sector. And it is a bit tricky to sort of make a move on the GTR because it pulls so quickly out of the corners. But the Ferrari does have some pretty long top legs, I would say. It's got a big top speed. So you do have to watch out for it at the end of Camel Straight, particularly in the toe of something as large as the brick, such as the GTR. As they come through here through the final chicane, a little bit of a slide from the GTR in its natural habitat. We've just reached halfway into this race. Name is still out in front. He's got a 9.5 second lead over Guy Coman, so he's not pulling out a ton of time, but he is pulling out time. So he's having a very comfortable race out there for now. Taufik's still only 2.2 off the back of Guy Coman. He's not letting him breathe just yet. Monks has dropped a little bit off, and then you got some more gaps down to Weatherburn, Marshall, Miller, Comboy, and then Sakanias, Hill, and Barker, which is who we're watching at the moment.
Yeah, Giacomin and Taufik still have a decent amount of pace. Like, we saw the gap move pretty quickly in the first couple of laps out towards 5, 6, 7, 8 seconds, and it's only out to 9.5 here, so still a pretty strong gap there as we see now. This is lap 2 as we see a big dive from the Aston Martin into the... Ooh, yeah. So that would be, as we get a bit of a concertina effect there and just some extra rotation. So it looks like we must have missed this at the start of the race. So that's the second lap incident. So that would be what the bulk of those penalties that we saw earlier come through were for. So someone not quite paying attention to yellow flags. I think we saw the penalty come through for that. So yeah, that's why it's important to watch if the car in front of you is slowing down earlier than you might expect. Something to watch out for and keep an eye on there.
Yeah, it's always tricky to do, particularly in the first couple of laps. You're still figuring out the pace of everyone around you. You're sort of settling into your own race pace, but you got to be careful of those things. It comes with a bit more experience. And yeah, sort of, even if it's not on purpose, those big dives into chicanes like that will always end up in tears. So the stewards have got to do what the stewards have got to do. They slapped them with the big stick, and I'm sure they won't do it again. As we jump on board with Benny Vintner, who I think I remember seeing this BMW at the back of the field, so he likely isn't doing a pit lane start like our friend Michael Babb was, but he's probably doing a sort of a last to as far up the field as he can go challenge. So he's currently up to P18. He seems to be doing pretty well, as he's catching up to... No, he's just passed the Honda, and he's now got a bit of a gap up to Vu in the Porsche. We'll just have to see if he can sort of make up any more spots. It might get a bit trickier as these sort of gaps increase through the end of the race.
Yeah, I was looking through the leaderboard earlier, and I was surprised to see Vinton's name down quite that far. So I'm not sure if he just had a rough qualifying or got caught up in an incident, but yeah, good to see him starting to make his way back through the pack up towards the pointy end of the field where I know he could be. I had a few battles with him myself. So yeah, one to watch for as this race gone through the first 30 minutes, and I think as the fuel load comes off, that BMW will become a little bit more nimble, and we'll see him work his way back towards the front. So we come back now to the battle for the top 10. Battle for the top 10 is looks like Hill has been able to hold off that Ferrari of Barker, and might be pulling away a little bit. Super close to the edge of track limits there. So these drivers have to be careful they're not taking too many liberties with the top of Radeon. Super easy to just cut a little bit too much and either have the Ferrari go round or cop another track warning and sending yourself through the pit lane, which is the ultimate race killer. So they both get a little bit sideways. So these cars look like they are pretty edgy to drive. This GTR in particular, as Connor would say, putting too much soy sauce over the track or on the rear tyres. So yeah, super good effort from Hill to defend from Barkas. We see him really late on the brakes and able to close up that gap into Bruchel. So yeah, he's not going anywhere. One small mistake from Hill, and that will allow Barker straight through. I'd say Barker's probably got the pace on him overall, but yeah, like we're seeing here, just a little bit tough to overtake here through some of these corners. And as we saw with the battle earlier, if you are trying to overtake through some of these corners, it's super easy to just hemorrhage a load of time going side by side through these corners. There's such fast, medium and high speed corners, super easy to just lose a load of time, and all that's going to do is allow any of the cars that are remotely close behind you to just motor straight back up to you, and next thing you know, you're not just defending from one car, but you're defending from two or even three.
Yeah, super easy to do. Yeah, as you mentioned, just hemorrhage time with that race pace. And then also the other thing is you might have pace over the car ahead, but there's one thing to have a couple tenths of pace and just be a little bit faster than them, or have enough pace to actually make a move. You know, you've actually got to have a pretty significant pace advantage to make a move easily over somebody unless they make a mistake. So just got to try and sit there on their rear bumper and force that error, as that's often the best way to try and get past people around here. And just in GT3s in general, to be honest, the class of drivers here are honestly all pretty skilled. They're very consistent, so it's difficult to make people make mistakes, and it's pretty much the only way to get consistent moves done. So shout out to the drivers. It's always good content to see long form races like this. It may not be super close and active moves all the time, but they are right there. It is close racing, so I bet they're having a great time at the moment.
Yeah, got to hit him with the good old mind punt, and it's a skill on its own. As we see Name here, we sort of definitely checked out of this race and sort of forgot he was in there a little bit, so good to see him back on screen. And it can happen from time to time. You have such a dominant, this the race that you want to have, but not the race that you want to watch back, and when you're looking for your car, you'll end up finding that you're literally never in there. So yeah, this gap's drawn out to 11.2 seconds now, so looks like he's really got the hammer down in the last couple of laps here, and pulling out some pretty quick laps, pulling away from Giacomin and Taufik. Taufik still sitting in behind Giacomin there at 1.8 seconds, so not absolutely rocketing away, and has closed a little bit in the last few laps. But yeah, so this gap is still, race is still on here for P2 with Giacomin's tyres maybe fall off towards the end or makes a bit of a mistake. So certainly not over yet for the podium, but yeah, these gaps are certainly spreading out a little bit. I can see there's a bit of a battle on between Mustang and Aston Martin there with Weatherburn and Marshall. So yeah, still a few gaps, and Miller's definitely still hanging back in there. It looks like these two might have been side by side for a bit, because that gap says 1.1 seconds to Miller, and I think it's a bit closer than that. So definitely fighting between these two, squabbling, and just allowing that Porsche of Miller to just ride straight up to the back of these two and put him straight into the fight.
Yeah, I suspect if the fuel rumours for Weatherburn are true, he might be running it in a lower engine map at the moment, so he's going to be struggling a little bit. So yeah, he might be maybe a little bit of lift to coasting, causing this loss of time into the braking zones, letting Miller catch up like this, as he's also just having to constantly defend. So they'll be running through the slower racing lines and whatnot, just bleeding time, as we've mentioned before. Yeah, we've just got confirmation he is running map 2. As we see a penalty come through on lap 6 for Ricky Hernanda, 5-second penalty. So not the worst, probably another little bump and run sort of situation. Don't hate to see it though. He's down there in 23rd at the moment. He is the lead AM car. We'll have to see how that folds out at the end of the race. But yeah, we can just see he has put the Mustang in map 2, so he's not running full brute strength of that wonderful American V8. So it's, as we watch the Aston go very wide through there, manages to hold on to it though. But yeah, he's probably struggling to hold off this Aston, because he's just going to be closing down every single straight with the toe and the higher engine map. So
yeah, and I think we might also be, if we look at the inputs of Yoda, I think of Jacob Weatherburn, I reckon that he's probably going to be doing some lift and coast here to try and pull that fuel back, depending on exactly how much he's under fueled. Of course, we won't know. Looks like he might have run a little bit wide there, so still trying to push the car. And as we saw with Marshall there, it's going to be super easy to cop another track warning, and that's going to be basically the end of your race, especially this late on. You're basically never going to recover that. So yeah, probably a little bit of lift and coast here going on, and that would explain why Marshall is just on the back of Weatherburn and not giving him any breaks or any chance for a mistake. So something he's going to have to watch out for, and it's a skill in and of its own, just keeping that close to the back of a car for that long. It's difficult. The tires are going to get hot. You're going to get hit with all the dirty air through these higher speed corners, and you're going to lose some front grip, and it's possible to start grading up your front tires, and just the car's not going to feel very nice tucked up behind there, apart from the fact you can't see. You've got to judge where you're going without really being able to see. So these pro drivers certainly know what they're doing to stick behind another car in front for this long, and just waiting out, being patient though, because there's no good just sending the nose in somewhere and having your nose chopped off, because you're just going to get an invoice from our lovely stewarding team. So yeah, that's the key, is waiting to stick impatient. Yoda also doing a great job defending there. As you see him just cover the inside, stopping Marshall from sending anything through, and the Mustang's probably going to pull away from that Aston just a little bit coming out of the chicanes. If anyone was watching the duos, I had my own fun with getting out of tight corners in the Aston Martin against some Porsches, and it did not work out the way I was hoping, so I know exactly how Marshall is feeling there, trying to get a run here. But he's going to stay close, and I think this is something we'll see go through for the next 20 minutes, and Marshall's going to be waiting for either Yoda to make a mistake or try and get tucked up right up close behind Eau Rouge and Radion, try and keep in that slipstream. And the Mustang itself, not a slow car down the straight, so he's going to have his work cut out for him.
Yeah, and I definitely know what you mean as we jump on board here to watch this move, as Weatherburn does move slowly to the center, but he does let him get to the inside, but he's not quite overlapped enough to dive into these corners. Very smart. He's not going to make any dumb moves, as you mentioned. Wants to finish the race first before just wiping each other out. And I definitely know what you mean. I was in the Lamborghini for that duos race trying to overtake a Mustang. That is painful. So I've definitely been there as well. And also, just keeping an eye on the person who's catching up to the back of this little 3-car train. JC is going to make it a 4-car train. So he could very well be, with some sort of miracle luck, if he's got pace, he could still get back up to 5th. So that would be a great recovery from JC. But yeah, he'll be sort of eyeing off this and looking for a couple of extra spots, slowly catching up to the back of them. Yeah, it's been real interesting. Good recovery drive from JC, even to get to where he is at the moment. And some good racing from these guys. Weatherburn is driving his heart out to defend with that Map 2 Mustang. And good work for Lucas for not doing anything too dumb. He understands he's still got 20 minutes. He just needs to sort of keep that pressure up. Eventually he'll melt to the rear bumper of that Mustang and he'll make a mistake. At least that's what he hopes so. But he's proven to be a stone wall so far.
Yeah, excellent job from Weatherburn, and it's super easy to make a mistake, especially if he is doing lift and coast. You start sort of playing with your braking markers or where you're getting on throttle or anything like that, and you see him defend the inside again, just making sure that he doesn't have any single invitation there. Does Marshall just try and send it up the inside as we see him getting really close again, and I think we're going to have a repeat of exactly what we saw before, where the Aston won't get out of the hairpins, he'll be slightly too far back, but closing, and you end up in that sort of zone where you're not sure whether you're close enough for a move, and if it is a move, it's going to be a dive, and make sure it doesn't end up messy, and a little bit deja vu from a few nights ago for myself in the Aston Martin. So it looks like he's closer this time. So what he might want to do is just have a little tiny lift just to make sure he doesn't run into him trying to get up the Eau Rouge and Radion. Oh, that's going to be a bit wide for Yoda. Careful, he's not going to get any track cuts for that. And I think Marshall might be close enough here as Yoda defends the inside. It's going to push Marshall towards the outside, but he's going to have enough speed. And this is definitely a complex of corners where you can hold it around the outside. It's going to give him the inside. He holds around. Taku, super clean, and it looks like he's held it inside a little bit wide there for Weatherburn. Very wide for Weatherburn, in fact, and that's going to invite Miller up along inside. Oh, there's a little bit of a touch, and Miller just gets escorted out towards the gravel, and finally Marshall has had his opportunity, and lo and behold, here we are. JC right up, that has allowed JC to just catch right up to the back of Miller. So JC still looking to work his way through this field here. And now there's going to be another one. One car released and another one stuck up the back of that Mustang trying to find a way past.
Yeah, good little racing there. It was the right move from Weatherburn to defend the inside there. It looked like he just hit the brakes just a little bit deep, obviously trying to keep that position. And then whether it was a slight slide in the Mustang that we couldn't quite see from here, or just giving the other driver a bit more room than they needed, went wide through that second corner there. Then obviously that invited Miller, but as we see here, he tries to make the move around the outside of Stavilo, holds it through the inside, a bit more rubbing, that's fine, no harm done, as he goes round the outside of Stavilo too, as JC is going to want to have a look up the inside. He's going to be using the toe of that Mustang to try and make a move. We'll see if he makes it almost 3 wide. As we see here, JC's on the outside coming through Blanchimont of this Porsche. I think he might back out. He's not quite there. Yeah, he does. Just lifts off just a little bit, gives them room. Everyone's settled back down, so there's a little bit of spicy fighting going on here. Clearly Miller thinks he's got the pace over Weatherburn as well. And then JC's trying to pick up the scraps as before Marshall pulls too far ahead. Although he already has a huge gap to Weatherburn, he clearly had a lot of pace on Weatherburn. Just shows you how hard it is to overtake. You know, he makes that much of a gap in 1 lap, but it took him so long to overtake. So we'll have to see what these next two can do. Yeah, it looks like a good little battle pack here. So Weatherburn's trying his hardest to keep on as many points as he possibly can.
Yeah, Weatherburn definitely the cork in the bottle here for this fight towards the back of the top 10. So, and I think we're going to find that Miller's going to have a little bit more of a tougher time trying to catch that Mustang down the straight. The Porsche is not the quickest in a straight line, so you see that Marshall has already buggered off ahead of them. It's about 3 seconds in. About a lap. So as we see, JC is now going to try and have a look at Miller, not quite close enough. So as we see Miller probably outbrake himself a bit too wide, and that is going to allow JC up past Miller. So this is now going to put another spanner in the works here for Weatherburn, as not now a Porsche he's got to defend from, but in a second he'll have a McLaren right up his butt to try and defend from. So again, you're going to have to work out what the driver behind you is like, where they're quick, where they're slow, where to sort of cover the inside to try and defend, and where you can let it go, because we've got to remember here that there's no use just defending the inside because you think they're there, when what you might be doing is just defending what we like to call defending fresh air, and just losing your self time and allowing them to make a move somewhere else because you've unnecessarily slowed yourself down. So he's going to have to just sort of see where JC's fast, and usually that's everywhere. So yeah, he's going to have his work cut out for him here, I think.
Yeah, he's just plodding along as much as he possibly can at the moment, doing what he can with the less fuel than what he may have intended. He is still doing pretty well. He's still P6, so that's still a fair chunk of points for him in this first round. But obviously JC will want to get back as many points as he possibly can, starting off in 4th and being even up to 3rd near the start of the race there. So he's still on this recovery drive. We'll have to see where he can make pace up over this forward. I assume he's going to gain quite a lot, probably through Eau Rouge and down the Camel Straight. That McLaren can be a pretty quick machine. I believe they run low wing here, so he's probably going to be very quick in a straight line, using the toe from that Mustang which just pulled into the pits. Yes, it seems like even with his fuel saving, he wasn't going to make it. So that is a very unfortunate time from Weatherburn. Obviously, there was no mandatory pits, so that's going to cost him a lot, because he's going to be one of the few that are going through the pits to stop. Obviously, there's a couple of DTs, but full pit stops, honestly, even worse. So very unfortunate there. Tried his absolute best. He drove well, but clearly just couldn't quite make it to the end. So very unlucky there for Weatherburn, as now we watch JC with fresh air up into P6. Going to try and hunt down Marshall, but that's probably going to be a big task with these remaining minutes.
Yeah, apparently an effort from JC, but it must have been quite a large underfueling there if he's tried to fuel save and still fallen short 13 minutes before the end of the race. So unfortunately, we're going to see that's going to drop it probably right towards the back of the field. So yeah, not how you want to start your first race of the season, how you start off your sprint campaign. So as you said, he's already down to 3.8 seconds. So Convoy still has a lot of pace over Marshall here, I think. So one to watch. It's 12 minutes and 3.8 seconds. Not completely impossible, but he's going to have to push like crazy to try and catch up to the back of the Aston Martin. But catching is one thing and passing is another, as we've seen here time and time again tonight. So it will be interesting to see whether he's got the pace to actually pull past him or not.
We jump back on board now with Name, who is way out front in his wonderful black and red McLaren. He's pulled a 14-second gap over Gaucoman now, who's got 2 seconds over Tofik. Looks like those two have pretty similar pace, but they just can't quite hold a candle to Name today. This is quite a first impression for this season. Looks like he's going to have At least here, he's been very dominant, so we'll have to see if that continues throughout the rest of the races. As we're now on board with Guy Coman coming through the final chicane, closely followed by Taufik. Sort of just been trying to follow him all through this race, waiting for a mistake, because obviously these two are driving Ferraris, which can be a little bit moody around here, so certainly they've still got 10 minutes. We don't know what could happen yet. As we can see, they're down in the 18s at the moment for their pace, so still very, very quick race pace, but obviously the tyres have dropped off a little bit, not quite the same pace as the start of the race. And then we're down to Monks, who's now 10 seconds behind Taufik, who's got a gap to him from Marshall. And then as we were on board before with JC hunting down Marshall, hopefully trying to close that a couple of seconds gap. So it does look like things have settled down here a little bit. Looking for Weatherburn, does look like he's lost a lot of positions. He's not even up here in the above 23rd at this point. As we jump on with this spicy little battle with Daryl Lim and J-Rad between the Aston Martin and the McLaren. Although D Lim does have a 5-second penalty, so it's more for on-track glory than actual any positions at the moment, because I think they know what's going to happen, but we always love racing.
Yeah, I don't know any drivers who look at the car in front and think, oh, you know what, they've got a penalty, I'm just going to sit behind. That's not how racing driver brains work. So we always know that Rad is going to try and move on Lim even with that penalty, regardless of all. That looked like he was a bit off track there for Lim, so I think that's going to invite John Rad straight through. And thank you very much. Another position up as we see roughly the sort of middle of the Pro-Am fight here in this race. So that's going to put him up to, what would that be? That's 4th position. I think that it is in Pro-Am. Sorry, 2, 3, yeah, 4th position for Pro-Am. So not quite a Pro-Am podium, but not a bad effort here from Rad.
I think that's actually 6th, because you got Jay Miller up in 7th, who's currently classified as Pro-Am. So great job from Miller. He was so far up that we forgot he existed in Pro-Am.
Yes,
but yeah.
Sorry.
But yeah, it did look like he went a bit too wide through Radion and Eau Rouge there. Probably just lifted, made sure he didn't get a warning. He might already be sitting on 2 or 3 warnings if that's the case. Really lifted off to make sure he didn't get a DT, which is smart. I'd rather give up 1 position than have to get a DT here. So if that was the case, very well driven. It looks like J-Rad has a lot of pace anyway, so you know, you always like to make a move on track, but you always take these sorts of things. So jump on with David Barker here, who's chasing down the back of the McLaren as Sakanias, trying to make a move as he dives from a long way back. Just about, bit of rubbing. He almost pulled it up at the apex. Just a little bit of rubbing there. Not the worst. We'll have to see if the stewards think negatively on that. Certainly some tough racing, but they both kept it on track. So I've definitely seen worse, and now Sakanias is going to have to watch out for that GTR of Graham Hill trying to make a move down through Eau Rouge and Camel Straight, because it's going to have a lot of pace. But as we mentioned before, the McLaren is also quite quick. So we'll have to see if the GTR's got the brakes at the end of Camel Straight, or if it can even pull alongside to begin with. As they come through here, both keep it... I think, did they both go off track limits? It's hard to tell from that camera angle. It looks very close. As we see, yeah, it looks like the GTR's just lifted off a little bit. I think he might be playing with a couple of track limit warnings, because it looks like Sakanias has pulled a gap there. Almost pulling back up to the back of Barker, actually. He's gained quite a lot of time back through Camel Straight there. So this fight might not be over. We'll have to see if he can keep up through the dirty air of sort of like this second sector with all the corners. But yeah, a nice little battle pack in the sort of last 8 minutes of the race here.
Yeah, it looks like a few of these drivers here tonight have already used their, what we like to call speed tokens through Eau Rouge. Sometimes you just think, you know what, I've got track limits to play with, I'm just going to cut it and hope for the best and cop the warning. But yeah, I think there's a few of these drivers here that have already done that a few too many times. I see Barker going for the adventurous line through Puon, not quite where you want to have the car, and I think he's trying to make sure that's not going to be a track limit for himself. Just probably slow it on exit, as we see then that has allowed Sakanias back up into P8. So yeah, just a little bit of a mistake there for Barker, and that's also then going to make sure that going to allow Hill right over the back of him again. So he's going to have to watch out now. It's probably not the spot you want to be in this race. You're trying to battle the car ahead, and that looks wide again for both of those two cars. And if you see either of them lift, doesn't look like it. I think Hill's kept it within track limits. So these guys, if they are on 3 warnings, they are still playing it very risky with the track limits. So I'm surprised we haven't seen. Do I need to finish that sentence, or I'm going to curse someone? We haven't seen any drive-throughs for track limits yet, I don't believe. So probably we might see one of these in the next probably 30 seconds, knowing my luck.
Yeah, great call there. I'm now expecting multiple DTs. That'll really open up the end of this race. But yeah, looking at the way some of these drivers are driving, they're clearly pushing because they're race car drivers, but it looks like a lot of them have used up their speed tokens by the amount of time some of these guys were losing down the straights. So keep an eye on this because this is a great little pack here. Shout out to Benny Vintana, who's up to 14th, slowly catching up to the back of Thurcolini. He's down to 5/10 at the moment, according to the scoreboard there. As we watch these three come through the top of Redillion, down the Camel Straight. Looks like everyone kept it on the black stuff this time around. Barker trying to get in the toe of that quick McLaren, catch up to the end here. We've seen him make one big dive bomb before. Whether he tries to make another one soon, we'll have to keep an eye out as he gets closer and closer through Lakeholm, through this final section down to Bruxelles. Does look like he's gaining. He might have the pace over Sakanias in this race currently, but clearly watching out for the track limits, had to give it up before, so he's got to make the move again. Graham Hill watching the back of these two, also about the same pace, but trying to pick up the scraps here. And they do have to watch out, he's a little bit farther back, but I did see Bishop coming through No Name just there, so if they scrap too much, there might be another 4th player to join this little battle pack that they've got going on.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if Barker's got a little bit more wing and downforce in that car as he's sending it very hard into the chicane there and almost running into the back of Sakanias. I think Barker might be running a little more downforce as he gained so much speed through the Lakeholm chicane compared to what the McLaren was running. So definitely might be running a bit more wing, and he's going to lose out on straight line speed. But as he gets a run here, and this might be the move that we're waiting for here on the McLaren, as he's going to be pushed towards the outside, and that's a brave move to try and make around the outside of Blanchimont as he rightly backs out of it. But he's going to be vulnerable here for a dive into the bus stop. Hill just showing the nose. He's going to defend from Hill instead of attacking. So this is going to put him in that awkward spot where he's got to defend and attack, and it's pretty hard to do both at the same time without making some sort of opportunity to either to allow the driver behind straight through.
Yeah, it's a really tricky spot to sort of be in the middle of a battle pack here, as I have just seen that he's when he got passed back by Sakanias, that was him giving the spot back for his dive into that final chicane. So a bit of gentlemanly driving going on there, or the RD classified it was either that or a pen. So yeah, he did that on purpose, so maybe less of a speed token thing. So he's clearly trying to make that move again. A bit more cleanly this time, try and get it done on track before the end of this race, which, speaking of, we just got under 4 minutes left, so probably about 3 laps from here, depending on where the leader is, so getting close to the end. We're watching JC has fallen off the back of Marshall a little bit this time. He clearly had a bit of pace, but it's just lost it a bit right here at the end. Just holding off Miller, 1 second to Miller. Although Taufik has closed up to the back of Guy Coman a bit. He's down under a second now. Maybe a couple of... They would have been going through maybe 1 or 2 blue flags by this point of the race, so maybe one was not super clean for Guy Coman.
Yeah, I've been keeping an eye on this battle for the last sort of 5 to 10 minutes or so, and I have been slowly watching that gap come down between Taufik and Giacomin. So I don't know if it's traffic or if Giacomin's just used some more of his tyres up and doesn't quite have as much grip as going to get a helping hand from the Aston Martin here up the back straight. Yeah, I've been watching that battle come down closer and closer, and unless Giacomin makes a big error, I don't think he can be close enough to take P2, but still not out of the question here for Taufik and Giacomin, just to make sure he keeps it on the black stuff and doesn't take any risks with the track limits or anything like that in the last probably 2 laps of this race, where his name way out in front, as we have seen. Yeah, going to be another probably 2 laps to go here, so still holding the gap just under a second, and Giacomin's going to have to try pretty hard to make sure that he doesn't let that fall down any closer.
Albert has a DT. I think that's track limits.
Oh, that was a bit too far away for me to say that's cursed over.
Sure. All right, that's fine. We've got one each so far anyway. That one was his own fault. But we hate to see it. DTs are very, very painful, as we mentioned here before, and right near the end of the race too. As I'm picturing, he's probably been sitting on 3 for probably about 20 minutes now, so he's probably been sweating that entire time. So very unfortunate to see, because that's P3 from Pro-Am as well, actually, so that was a big result for him. But that would be... It might not even go to Parker, because he's got a 15-second pen, so it looks like the Honda might have inherited P3 in Pro-Am there, so good job from Prakash Armstrong. Just keeping on track, no penalties, and it's paid off for him here, so well done there. As we're here on board with Taufik, we've moved over to David Barker, who's still on the back of Sakanias. Hasn't been able to make that move again just yet, so he's got this lap and one more likely, as we're watching Naeem come into the final sector here for this lap. Clearly has the pace, has been able to stay on the rear. They're still pushing pretty hard. We'll have to see if they've got any track limit warnings. But yeah, these two have been going at it for a long time. Well done to Sakanias for being able to hold him off so far. Obviously, there was that little punt, but not quite clean enough, they deemed, so they're still racing.
Yeah, I've been shout out to Vintner as well, as we didn't see the move, but he's gotten ahead of Thurkalini. So Thurkalini hasn't really come through the pack like we thought he might have been able to after a bit of a rough qualifying. So Vintner working his way back up through to P13, which is probably where he'll end up finishing this race, as Barker is right over all the way over the back of this McLaren. And he's probably going to be sick of staring at the back of McLaren here after the end of this race. Yeah, as you said, one of those moves probably not quite clean enough as far as the RDs and the stewards were concerned. So he's going to have to try and do that again and try and make it a little bit cleaner. Too much of a dive into the bus stop chicane. It is a little bit inviting, super easy to do. But yeah, we want to make sure that these moves that they put on here are clean. So up into the slipstream, all running up to Blanchimont here. Super difficult corner to try and follow really closely through, as he takes a bit of inside curb, as I was about to say, a bit unsighted, as Sakanakis is going to cover the inside, not close enough for a move into the bus stop chicane. Yeah, the point I was just about to make there is that's a difficult corner to follow that closely, as Giacomo might have made a mistake here, as Taufik right on the back up in the slipstream, heading up to the Laycom chicane as they go side by side. As who's going to be later on the brakes? It looks like Taufik is going to keep the nose in. Giacomo's going to push hard and just going to keep in front. That is very close. So, and Taufik knows this is his last chance. So Giacomo make sure he's going to get a good run out of this last section of Laycom to stop any dives into Bruxelles. More or less, apart from the bus stop, probably the only other overtaking opportunity here. So don't know if we saw a mistake there from Giacomo, but that gap was still sort of roughly 8/10. So no, we're hearing it's not a mistake. So Taufik has just pulled a lot of pace out in this last lap and has caught right up to the back. So we'll see how that one pans out, as Barker is still right up behind Sakanias here. And I'm hearing Taufik has unfortunately just run a bit wide and has dropped off the pace. So he was pushing really, really hard and unfortunately has not been able to make that one stick.
Yeah, it's tricky. It's tricky with that, because obviously all you need to do at that point, after he missed his first opportunity down Camel Straight, is just need to stick behind him and wait for the last straight, which is truly your last opportunity, overtaking opportunity. But it was clearly pushing too hard to try and stick right behind him and just made that mistake and ran wide. So unfortunate, but that still looks like it will probably be a P3 for Taufik, which you truly can be pretty happy with. As we jump back to Naeem, our leader, crossing the line, very dominant performance by him. As we come back now to Graham Hill, who's made a move on David Barker. So Barker went from making a move up as he slows. Barker's run out of fuel, I think.
Or is he
just
wheel issue, hardware failure, maybe, or hardware problem?
Absolute scenes at the end of this race as Barker falls down the pits. He went from making the move on Sakanias, and he's gone back to pits. Oh dear, that is devastating. Right on the final lap. As he went from overtaking Sakanias to ending up not even finishing the race. That is absolutely brutal, as we see a lot of people coming out of the pits here. What's going on? That's quite strange. Probably DTs and things that people are serving at the last second.
Yeah, just getting those penalties out of the way. Yeah, that's going to be a DNF for Barker, so I'm not sure if we can maybe get a replay towards as we see, Lame has finished the race. Yeah, not sure what happened with Barker, whether we can get a bit of a late race replay there, but that's going to be super unfortunate as we're getting the Pro-Am battle here coming across the line in a moment. Yeah, so super unfortunate for Barker, but very close race towards the sort of back of the top 10 here tonight. So I think we're just going to look for a replay and see what might have happened to Barker. I thought he might have been giving up a place, but might have run out of fuel. But it looks like he did pull over and still accelerate a little bit. So yeah, we'll have a look and see if we can find out what happened there. Bit of a curious race end to his race, but yeah, congratulations to these guys. The back of the top 10 was an amazing battle and pretty much lasted the whole race here, Austin.
Yeah, that was some pretty good battling going on there. There was a couple of little battle packs pretty much the entire time. Unfortunate, as we jump on here with the replay. So we're on board now with Barker, just hunting for what's happened here. So as they come out of No Name and they're coming towards Puhon, this is sort of where we left them as we jumped with Name crossing the finish line. So we'll see what happens here because we caught them with Graham Hill making the move. So as we see here, he's just slow. He's still on the throttle. He just seems slow. He's off throttle, still on throttle, accelerating. All right, so he's still coming through here. Car's still working as normal. There we go. I think he's just run out of fuel because he is on throttle and that car is not going anywhere. So I don't think, actually, no, he's still in 6th, but I don't think that would matter. He would still be going somewhere. So yeah, it does look like a fuel error for Barker there. So that's really unfortunate. Half a lap, not even half a lap short. That is absolutely devastating. But we've come to the end of Split Green, and what a race that was. We'll go through the standings soon. Quickly, who do you think your driver of the day was?
I think we didn't see much of him tonight, but it's hard to fault Name for that 19-second lead on that one. Pretty much done a Max Verstappen here for the first race of the night. Yeah, he's probably my standout for tonight.
Yeah, that's fair. I'm going to call out Benny Vintner because that seems to be a last to a good run through the field there as he got to P12. But we'll go through the top 3 here. So overall, we had Name with a dominating first position, followed by Guy Coman and Taufik. And then moving down to silver, we had Sakanais, who was able to hold on at the end there, followed by Bishop, and then Michael Webb with his pit lane start. Good job. Followed by Pro-Am, we had Jay Miller, who outperformed Pro-Am. He will not be there for long. Followed by Josh McLaughlin, and then Pascal Armstrong. Apologies for that. Inheriting that 3rd spot. And then finally in AM, we just had Hermanda, who ended up with quite a few penalties, my poor dude. But clearly kept it on track and finished the race. So very solid effort from him. All right, what a night of racing that was, Liam.
Yeah, it was very good. It seemed like it was pretty clean. There might have been a few incidents down the back by the look of a few of those penalties, but not quite the conundrum that we saw from the start of Split Yellow. So these drivers probably had a bit of a talking to before that and were able to keep it a lot cleaner. Yeah, we saw some good battle packs throughout the race, a couple that sort of fizzled out, but there was definitely, yeah, some good racing up and down the field for the whole 60 minutes.
Yeah, that was some pretty good racing. Only a couple of minor incidents, and as you mentioned, first race of the season, could be some people scrapping off a little bit of rust. But yeah, that was really, really entertaining. So just letting you know, we have more racing coming tomorrow, starting in what was the well, it is Split Blue, but it is now belonging to LMU. So we'll be streaming LMU tomorrow at the normal Split Blue time slot. So come watch that. That'll be some good multi-class racing. 60 minutes, same as the Sprint Series, followed by the infamous Split Red back into ACC around Spa. We'll have to see if they give us any interesting weather. So thank you all for joining us tonight. That has been a lot of excellent content and some wonderful racing. Join us again tomorrow. You have been watching the Simrigs Sprint Series. Catch you later.